He's like, no, don't start. No, no, no. Don't
Yes,
start.
yes. No.
Yes,
No.
yes.
Austin Powers.
Um,
I never understood that till like I was an adult. It finally hit me. Joke went over my head every single time.
Like twins, Basil. Really?
Twins, Basil.
Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to apartment 814. We here as the four boys will be talking about a certain amount of things, different
Okay,
kinds of
cool.
things. Sometimes it's about video games, sometimes it's about things that just happens to be on our minds. But here we are. Take a seat, sit down, enjoy the show, and discuss with us in the chat. Whether you're on my Twitch channel or you're on the Aeon Animas Twitch channel,
Which,
enjoy.
you know,
Grab a snack.
hasn't launched today. Not yet. Hold on.
Thanks.
Give it a second.
When he starts his,
And then hide your wife, hide your kids.
put them away. Give them some money so they can go to the mall or something. I don't know if malls are open this early.
Our malls, well, they're open.
Goes to the
but
mall.
yikes.
Who goes to the mall? Yeah, who goes to the mall nowadays, right?
Yeah, I went down to the mall. Then they closed down the mall. Guess they don't want me going to the mall
Not
because I'm
anymore.
just too small. Nothing? No one? No.
I wouldn't said boo though. So
A little bit of good words for you.
okay, so gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
How about we introduce ourselves so they know who the gentlemen are? We'll call you out every single time.
Okay.
I'll introduce everybody this time though. So everybody, I am the Anima. As you mentioned, I do have my Twitch stream up typically. I'm changing the title out right now. I'm trying to make sure that I put it Animal Crossing and all that. But yeah, you guys can find me specifically on Fridays. I'm going to be doing a lot more Smash streams, so if you guys are into that, cool. Appreciate you. And we also have a couple of other people here with us today, aside from Sync Weaver himself, the host of our humble loft
Who's
in the cyberspace.
who's currently having sinus thingies going on right now? So please forgive my stuffiness.
I think I see a sinus thingy over there.
Sinus something.
So we also have Skeptic. If you want to introduce thyself.
What's up? Skeptic. Skepticism.
You're gonna have to.
Skepticism,
One day you're gonna flesh that out. One day. One of these days you're gonna be like, oh, my name's Skeptic. I run this channel. I also do a bunch of art. And one day.
Just like find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Discord, Pinterest.
Encouraging optimism.
We'll get there one day.
Listen, it takes years of intense training.
Years. Oh, okay.
Convincing optimistic argument.
But no. What's up, guys? Skeptic here. Let's see. I guess I'm probably the fourth wheel. The fourth wheel. Yes.
Who's the fifth?
There's no fifth wheel.
It's your wife, Animal. What are you talking about? She's been on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Basically.
it's 814, and sometimes Anima's wife. And wife. Oh God, we need to change the time. Yes, no. We need to make that a thing. I say we do. Just make it 814 and wife.
I basically I need to change my name to the Push to Talk.
Oh my goodness.
I swear.
And, let's see, who's next? Oh yeah, Panic. Disco. Speak.
So, tell me why I had a topic and I found something and then completely forgot my topic because I wanted to make this something my topic. So, question is, should I?
Should you?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because you guys have no clue what the hell I just found, and this will probably blow all your minds.
Oh, well, if
I
that's
wanna know.
Love having
a
that mind
better
blown.
topic, do it then.
That's promising.
Anyway, I am Panic, and I am very, very, very happy to finally have a fucking Switch.
Hey, wonder who did that.
Oh right, you do have a Switch now.
That came fast.
Yeah, I don't think we
it's
put sync into the loop. But yeah, that thing already dropped. It said it was gonna be available to the end of the month, and then it was like, nope, it's there. I'm like, whoa, all right.
Unexpected
so, welcome
good
back
news,
to the Switch Club.
Now, like you just need another 100, 120, and you can play Smash.
I mean, you put it that way.
Another 120, huh?
That $60 is worth it.
Because the game, and then like
single characters outshine whole game announcements.
and the $20 character passes, which was it 3 of them now?
No, it's 2.
It's 2? Oh, okay. But there will be 3. Up to
Really?
25. Oh, of course.
Oh,
think
there's only
so?
2.
If they drop a 3rd fighter pass, I don't think the world can handle
He
it.
said this is the last one. The second one's the last one.
Okay. Okay.
3 characters left
So 100. Okay.
to reveal. I was gonna make that my topic, like character speculation for the last 3, but IDK.
Dante.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say I believe anymore. Everything, the stars aligned, and then Byleth dropped, and that wasn't a bad thing. But I'll talk a little bit about it. I'll talk a tad bit. This will be it'll be a side topic. Be more than 2-3 minutes, just as an update to you guys. But anyway, who's going first? Actually,
You.
me. All right, sure. So about this side topic. I'm running around in circles on my Animal Crossing island, by the way. Let me go sit down somewhere so I can focus. Let's sit in the park. All right, so let's talk about it. So there was a article that came out about potential like prominent leaker. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to see any more leaks, but what does this person got to say? And actually, it was more about what has already happened and what isn't probably going to happen. Due to like insider information. And again, the article's like, take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, look, if it has anything to do with what's already happened, I would be more than interested in hearing that. And part of it was that Byleth was actually all right, well, let me start from the beginning here, so just so anybody doesn't know. So Super Smash Bros. Brawl, I mean Ultimate. If you guys don't know, it's the Nintendo crossover fighter party game that is having a lot of polarization between the competitive and, well, just Nintendo. And Nintendo's been under a lot of fire for it lately. But aside from all the political stuff of that, effectively the game itself has generated a lot of hype because a lot of really prominent game characters have entered the roster. So you have things like the most recent edition of like Sephiroth, you know, being matched up with things like Isabelle from Animal Crossing, or Sonic, or Pac-Man, or Mega Man, freaking Cloud, who was already in the game before, and Bayonetta, and you got all these crazy characters all over the place. And effectively, character announcements are just kind of like the talk of the gaming world at every single moment that they're about to be revealed. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry to hear it. But if you are here and you understand what I'm talking about, then let's get right to it. Effectively, the DLC characters that have dropped so far have been in this order, and that includes Piranha Plant, who was dropped as a pre-order bonus and then was made available as the first DLC, separate from the fighter passes. Then it was Joker. Wait, I'm trying to go in order. Joker, Banjo, Terry. No, Hero, Terry, and then Byleth. Right?
I think
Joker, Banjo, Terry, and then Hero, or Hero and then Terry. I want to say it was Hero and then Terry, yeah. And then it was Byleth. Byleth was a lot of controversy because Byleth was another Fire Emblem character, which was already a ton of representation of Fire Emblem. And so a lot of people who originally heard Sakurai say that this Fighter Pass, the first one, was going to be all third-party characters, felt like he lied and got all upset, and everybody threw a big tantrum. But it was revealed recently that Byleth was actually supposed to be part of the original roster. It just didn't happen to work out that way.
Wow.
Yeah. Which would make a lot more sense. You know what I mean? But some characters get delayed because the process of getting a new character into the game might cost a little bit more time in development than one might think. So Byleth apparently was supposed to be released with the roster, which is where that came from. It also talks about, kind of hits into the idea that Minecraft Steve, which is one of the Spider Pass 2 characters, was actually in development for the last game, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. Because it took so long to program what he does into that game, it actually got stalled an entire game. It became part of the second Fighter Pass here. I was about to read chat. So what that basically means is that characters probably got switched around a little bit, because right in Fighter Pass 2, the next character was Min Min, who was another character that was a Nintendo rep, so it was easier to do what they talked about. They also said that it was easier to get Sephiroth in as another rep because the developers were eager to get him into the game, which also has some other implications to the other things we've talked about with Sephiroth and everything going on. He was cheaper and everything. Like, it was a great deal, apparently, for...
Sephiroth was cheaper?
Than he would have normally been, yeah, because they were eager to get him into the game. Like, negotiations went really well with Sephiroth, so he got in.
It's weird to say, because like for a long time Cloud was just like that one third-party character with one stage 2 songs and, you know, just speaking Japanese and representing Final Fantasy. And then you got Hero, so it's like obviously they're talking with Square Enix. They're obviously still, you know, working with them, and there's probably like nothing that will stop them from getting something else in there in terms of Final Fantasy.
Right.
So,
well, you know, it's weird that you mention that too, because a lot of people don't recognize the Hero as a Square Enix character. But look at how much music came from his game. It kind of makes you realize that, hey, maybe it was a little bit more complicated to get the music. And I started to pick up on that when I saw just how much music other games were getting.
Yep.
And as he was describing them in the character release, you know, events, he was like, well, SNK gave us 50 songs. We weren't expecting to be able to get that many. Like, there was something going on, and they addressed the idea of getting a whole lot of songs from the Final Fantasy VII franchise. They addressed that during the Sephiroth showcase.
Kind of funny.
Sakurai did.
You should say that.
Sakurai, if you don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, kind of funny you should say that. I believe Max said this before, but like SNK, like their parent company, really wanted to put like a character in Smash Brothers for a good bit, especially since it's the most sold fighting game of all time right now. And they were like, okay, so apparently they pre-prepared all of that. And when Sakurai said, because when he told his story, he was like, hey, just send us whatever you want in terms like music, we'll be sure to put it into the game. And they had like a huge list. For no apparent reason, he had to cut it down. So I don't know if you heard about that. It was a funny story.
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, SNK and the parent company, when they were asked, representation or a character for representation in terms of like music and the character. Well, one, they knew it was going to be Terry, but two, when they sent music, they just sent him like a buttload of music because they wanted to throw everything at Sakurai. And he was like, "Oh, okay, I'll see what I can do." So it's kind of funny that you said that, but like my question here though, is there like a pattern that you're trying to find for like the next DLC characters, or no? There's like no pattern.
No.
Was there ever a pattern?
I mean, you know my philosophy. You guys have been with me through all my predictions and speculation, and effectively it comes down to this. Whatever makes the most marketing sense and isn't hard to get. You know, like everybody's screaming about Sora. Sora is not a Square Enix character. Sora is a Disney-owned character. Sora is a Disney character. He's not a Square Enix character.
Trying to strike a deal with Disney is harder to figure out than...
Somebody was saying that Square Enix was the reason why we couldn't get Sora, but I'm like, no, probably because Square Enix is trying to negotiate for Sora. They can't. Disney ain't about it. Like, they're just not. They don't care. They're not going to, like, be easy to convince to bring Sora into the game. And then, when the representation of Sora gets there, you have to have Donald and Goofy. and that's just not likely. So you got to think about things like that. Like, I think people really get their like jimmies in a ruffle, and it's like, just you know, like, just
Well-
look at facts. But people don't typically do that as much, and I get it. But like, just really look at it. Like, DMC, is it unlikely? No. The director was like, well, in order to get Dante, first we'd have to have, you know, a game on their console, right?
Yeah.
And then DMC3 dropped on the Switch. And everybody was like, oh, like everybody was putting it all together and it added up to that. But maybe there's some complication. And maybe the marketing sense wasn't there, you know? Then DMC5 dropped. I'm thinking, I mean, I don't see where there isn't marketing sense, but
Okay.
I guess because Nintendo doesn't have DMC5, it's not going to be a big deal for them. I don't know.
So, like, I can see Dante or Virgil or anybody from DMC being in Smash Brothers over Sora and Goku. And I'm sorry to everybody who wants Goku to be in the game.
Basically said it's all about video games. It's not about anime.
Well,
Like, he's in video games.
technically, I mean, yeah, he's been in video games, right? Like, he's been in several dozen video games.
Yeah, but his origin is that of Japanese animation.
Right. And that's not... I don't think Sakurai is going to let that one fly. You know, having an anime character just pop into a video game-centric celebration party game. Oh, I'm sorry. Party fighting game. I think he ragged on us on that.
Video game characters that didn't add an anime character. It just, there's too many there's too many video game icons not being represented. Like, to have Goku hit before Master Chief would actually incite outrage. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, I mean, on that side, to play devil's advocate, people have been wanting Goku into this game for years, just as well.
Yeah, but you know
as Master
what?
Chief.
I'm kind of tired of like the
That ain't happening.
fan base. Period. Like, I'm kind of like over it because like not every single person is like this giga fan who just has to believe that Goku could beat literally anything in the entire universe. But like, I just feel like more often than not, the fan base is so like, I don't know, they're just, it's so important to them that their beloved characters are just so untouched. I can't get past it. Like, if they're in the game, like, I don't know, like, I don't like the mentality that comes with the person playing the character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're not gonna be happy with the moveset. They're not gonna be happy that he's low tier or high tier or mid.
Sorry
Like,
about that.
he's gonna be busted. He's gonna be this. After all is said and done, when a character drops, what really comes into play is how really like viable they are against the rest of the cast. Let's be honest. Everybody talks about tiers, and the moment your character becomes too high or too low tier, both of those are an issue. So it's just that and then that creates a toxicity on the internet that follows, you know. And I'm not looking forward to that because I know that the Dragon Ball Z fan base is just like, you just can't tell them anything. So like, you really don't want that. That's what I was saying with Sephiroth right before he was revealed. I'm just like, I can see him getting in and out of Min Min's a character because I just couldn't see that sword being swung around the stage. I couldn't envision it. But after Arms dropped, I'm like, okay, my perception of how much range you can have in this game and get away with it has been shattered.
Yeah.
Now I know Sephiroth is a possibility. Now the question is, would you want a sword that long in this game? And the truth of the matter is, it's well balanced. And I applaud Sakurai for making it a very believable thing. He doesn't seem too powerful. He doesn't seem too weak. But he definitely is a good character. Very well represented.
Yeah.
And that's what people want.
It's kind of funny you should say something about Sephiroth, because Sephiroth's moveset has me thinking about, and it's weird because their movesets are actually different. Dissidia. So I was thinking like, wait, hold on. So when he does Octaslash, okay, and it has a bunch of openings. Okay, I see what he's going with here, because in one of the Dissidias, he can do Octaslash, but he's very open after that. Sephiroth has been a character that has a lot of openings whenever he does an attack in the Dissidia series. So I've noticed that, and I'm like, okay, so he incorporated it in that, like translated that in Smash Brothers, and they made him light so that he doesn't stay on the stage for all too long because of his range. But they gave him a comeback system, which goes in line with his character, because it's like you can't just kill Sephiroth, or it's not easy to kill
It's
Sephiroth.
basically boss phase 2, you know what I mean? Sephiroth
Right.
decides to get serious, and then he actually starts destroying you. It's very, very well represented.
Right.
I
And
think so.
I was watching the number one player in Smash Ultimate go against the number one online player in Smash Ultimate, which was a very exciting watch, by the way.
Who? If you don't
Spargo,
mind me asking.
it's Spargo versus MKLeo, or I should say MKLeo versus Spargo. Sorry, in that order.
Spargo's the top online player. How do you even know who's the top online player?
He's
He has
already
the most DSP.
he's already contended and has took the title.
Oh, okay.
So it was in the grand finals like about a year ago when the whole pandemic started. He was going against MKLeo of all people and actually beat him with Cloud. And don't get me wrong, MKLeo can still like destroy people even though he's playing online. But he knows the difference between online and being like right next to a person. He's more of a person who likes to fight somebody in real life. So when he says that when he takes on Spargo in real life, he's taking his best player
Oh my
crown
God.
back. But
Uh-huh.
the fight they were going through was Sephiroth versus Sephiroth, because it was a Sephiroth tournament. And watching those two was kind of just spectacular, because they already kind of just like unlocked the hidden potential of Sephiroth. Both of them were like destroying the tournament until it got up to those two, and it was like
Right.
back and forth between the two. Like MKLeo's was in losers, and Spargo was in winners. MKLeo brought him to losers, and Spargo was just like making a comeback though, which brought him back into winners, and it was an amazing sight. So Sephiroth jumping all over the place. His range is nasty. And I should have done this before. His downward tilt can interrupt people from coming back from all ranges. It's crazy. His aerial game, if you know how to manipulate your opponent, is just devastating. He won't let you back on stage. The scariest thing about Sephiroth, from what I learned from watching those two, is that his edgeguard game is horrifying.
It is. It honestly means, like, if you lose neutral, you practically lose the stock in the hands of a good Sephiroth. It's very important to remember that edgeguarding is a real phase of, like, advantage that people should try to get better at. I think too often in mid-level play, you have somebody who will back off, or they'll go too far in. Like, they'll go for an edgeguard versus a ledge trap. And I feel like Sephiroth has a great ledge trapping game as well as a good edgeguarding game, if not more of a ledge trapping game. And that's important to recognize the difference, you know? Like, he's got an incredible, like, edgeguard game too, but ledge trapping is just as important. Like, corner pressure, ledge options, all that stuff matters. And Sephiroth capitalizes on that stuff. And that's why a lot of Sephiroths are bad, because they just don't understand that concept. If you've played a lot of them, and I know you have.
Yeah. Just to finish off what I said. Ever since I started training under Mewtwo King, I've gotten a wider grasp and concept of fighting games in general.
Mm-hmm.
He's more analytical and more logical in his perception of Smash Brothers. He takes numbers into consideration in frames,
Mm-hmm.
and he speaks a lot of framework when it came to like how I was fighting. Because he's like, this move comes out at frame 7, this move comes out at frame 15, 13,
What? Talking
8.
about frames, we're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, apparently we're not, but
But I will say this: we are a little off topic. I was gonna make that a small side topic. I was gonna end it at the Sephiroth ad, and
Yeah.
then we went into competitive talk. What I will say is this: my other topic was just really around the lines of the Mario Party DS anti-piracy screens. Have you guys seen them?
the anti-pirate.
The
Mario
anti-pirate like Mario Party DS thing that somebody quote unquote discovered.
I think I've seen it before.
Look up "Piracy is No Party." It's basically been this whole thing that's coming up, and what I effectively was about to dub "Know Your Meme," like, which is not a new term, but my topic was gonna revolve around the idea that people have been making creepypastas out of like fan-made anti-piracy stuff in Nintendo games. It started with the really convincing Mario Party DS one, which people had to go out of their way to tell people it's not real. But then a whole bunch of new ones came up where there was like some for like Mario Galaxy, there was some for Mario Kart for the Wii, and it was kind of this thing. But like one of the really funny things that came out of the original one, which you should totally look up, is that there was a really good song like in there. And there's a song you can look up that's called "Piracy is No Party." And it's a fan-made song. And then Insane in the Rain Music did a cover of that song. And he just dropped that, I think, yesterday. If you guys don't know who Insane in the Rain is, he's a video game music jazz artist who makes his own arrangements using multi-instrumentalist recordings and his own fusion ensemble. And he just finished an album called Sinovation, which is a cover of most of the entire Gen 4 of Pokemon. And I was going to say, check that out and check out his cover of the anti-piracy song, which is really cool. And it's like based off of this whole this growing trend of like creepypastas made out of anti-piracy things that you would find in Nintendo stuff, which isn't real. That was the real topic. Not nearly as interesting. Just wanted to kind of put you guys' attention towards it, see if you guys knew what I was talking about. So I was going to do like a double topic sort of a deal.
Oh, okay.
All right. Definitely have to. If you want to put the links in the, I'm gonna actually later on. I'm gonna make just a Discord and not just this group. A Discord would be more feasible for us to go on from now on. Just gonna put that out there. All right. Interesting. If you want to put the links on that in the chat, please do.
Yeah, I'm into
Piracy is Party.
I'm putting all the links in there now.
So who wants to go next with their topic?
Panic does.
Just
I like
speaking
how
for
you
him?
keep volunteering
Yeah,
everybody.
he's just speaking for him.
He's 2 for 2.
Since you're volunteering, how about you go yourself?
Ooh, counter volunteer.
Ooh. He just pulled a trap card on you.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that.
In Uno it does.
Why are you stalling?
He wants to tell us, but I see this. Oh wow! I just double pasted it. Sorry. I see the thumbnail, and I'm like, for real though?
He said he
Saving
wants
the
to
best
talk
for
about.
last.
He says he wants to talk about something else. So.
Yeah, I want to know what the other thing was or is.
Well, while we're waiting for her panic,
No,
just talk about that.
Y'all two go.
Oh, Toledo. So, so what's better, console gaming or PC gaming?
Did we already do this?
Not quite. Not quite.
Console gaming or PC gaming?
Not quite.
Are you trying to?
I think we're establishing our own identities in this podcast. Finally, this is amazing.
Why do we have to choose a camp on whether or not?
Oh, I like this. I like the skeptic brings up the like
Polarizing shit. Because
he's like the opinion pieces. Panic's like the check this out, and I'm like the did you know?
Did you know game?
That's funny.
And Thinkweaver's like the I'm a rant about something based off of what somebody else says and take it off. I'm like,
no one's
I like
wrong
this.
with my gears.
PC gaming is like superior in all ways. I'm not a PC gamer. I don't even endorse that statement, but that's what I've heard literally every single time. And I believe it. It's just not the most consumer friendly. It's like building your own PC versus buying a commercialized PC. What is better? Honestly, building your own PC is. We did it. Mine is like built by our own specifications and all that, and it works like a charm, and it's amazing. And I probably could play games on it like no other, and I just don't. That's not why I got it. But I know PC gaming's better because I remember playing Need for Speed on PC before the PlayStation 2 came out, and it had PS2 graphics. when the PS2 dropped, I was like, I realized now that computers have been doing this the whole time. And every time I hear somebody say PC gaming's better, I actually understand. Whether I agree, it's this elitist attitude, and I'm just like, I think what you mean to say is, if you really want top of the line graphics and performance out of your games, PC is the way to go. But if you're somebody who doesn't know the first thing about building or maintaining or keeping up with a computer, you should probably just buy a console. Especially since it's a much cheaper option than building one, because to build mine cost like 3 consoles. And I didn't even get the top of the line stuff. And some of it was given to me. Thank you, Panic.
Yeah.
Overall, the amount of things that went into this thing clocked it out at close to about $1,500.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And that wasn't including the monitors.
Because my computer has been rebuilt, put together, parts been changed out all the time. It's always evolving. It's an always evolving thing with PC. Just like there's actually a graphic card that I really want to get and put in my PC, but I have to get a new CPU for that to work as well. So
what would you consider to be a console advantage over PC?
Probably convenience of it just being a machine for a single purpose of being, gaming, and an entertainment box already set up for everything. It's not a computer that you have to put together. It's not a computer that you have to buy and set up and trust that whatever's inside will work in terms of the games that you want to play. When I built my PC, I made it so that I can play the latest things and be able to play it effectively at the highest settings. But when it comes to PlayStation or Xbox or anything, they are mini computers in ways, but you can't change out their parts. You can't upgrade them, and they have limitations. So if I'm going to play, say, Spyro Trilogy, right, which I could play on my PlayStation 4, I know that on my PlayStation 4 it would run optimally, but there's always been maybe some sort of stall issue. Sometimes graphics would have pop-ins. It's not going to be at the highest setting because there is a certain functionality that the PlayStation 4 can only actually work as. Whereas my PC, I know it's going to be able to be played at 60 FPS, 60 FPS and at 4K quality, because I could set it that way. And if it's too high, I could set it low and put it at 30 FPS. I could change those, on the fly, actually. And my computer can run, obviously, this game at 4K, 60 FPS. And that's what I like about having a PC. There's little stall, if any stall. There isn't pop-in because my machine is strong enough to actually play it. And I would say, when it comes right down to which one's more superior, it's PC, but which one's more convenient is the console.
Yeah, it's way more accessible. That's why people go out of their way to get consoles. Why do you have to understand how a PC is built? Just to play the games that you want to play. Especially if they're exclusives. Think about how, you just can't play PS exclusives on PC. They're not available.
Right. So,
So I guess the biggest advantage for consoles is, accessibility then. In and of itself, if I want to play Smash locally on an airplane.
I mean, you're gonna have to use the Switch,
I mean, if you want to play Smash Ultimate, period.
Yeah.
I know that we have the Melee mod Slippy.
Oh no! And assuming that the not for the sake of the conversation, let's eliminate exclusivity.
Well, someone in chat just actually mentioned PC is also the indie machine. Every indie game is on PC. Consoles are catching up, though. That's a great point.
True.
I actually did not think about that. That makes sense.
Yeah, indie games being licensed onto systems is a big deal, but it isn't a big deal to PC where they will typically be. You know, the internet's always kind of been a place for, or at least not always, but humor me here. Like before we had indie games like we have now, you know, Flash games were a huge deal back in like, I want to say the late 90s into early 2000s. You guys remember?
Yes.
Like there was a lot of great games that existed that weren't full on or full blown games, but like some people went out of their way to make legitimate like gaming experiences through minimalist efforts, and that has always been on PC. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Like if you're thinking about where to find some of the best not major AAA title games, you're never going to have a problem on PC. Or Apple. I mean, I don't know. iOS is weird. That's like App Central over there. I don't know how well they convert to actually playing games.
I don't know, that's a whole different.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Console versus PC versus mobile.
Oh gosh, I thought you were gonna say next time on the A14 podcast, the Mac versus. PC.
Oh my goodness, Mac versus Android. That was better.
I would have been like, bruh, stop! It must end here.
I'm glad that you pointed that out, because let me tell you, that shit's not on purpose. It's just the core of our personalities.
Yes, I like how the dynamic is formed.
That's funny. I
We
kind
didn't
of
really have like format, but we've created our own format. Through,
created
like,
our own format.
our sheer habits. Because I'm like, he swore we weren't going to talk about just games, but here we are.
Stuff is happening.
I like hearing other people's opinions on more subjective. Well, I won't say more subjective. I'll say less objective things. Like that's a fair question. It's like, okay, because PC is generally better as far as, you know, value goes, but you know, I just gave a situation in which it's fucking useless. So
Yeah,
it just depends.
it is one of those situations where, yeah, if you're not at home, you know, which makes me wonder about the future of handheld gaming. I know that mobile gaming has kind of taken the helm of that, and you know, it's kind of the same thing. It's like how indie games weren't taken seriously before, like they weren't gonna pop off. I don't know how people thought that now, looking back, but like mobile games have the same stipulations going on. You know what I mean? Like there's a stigma that, you know, mobile games aren't gonna be that crazy, but back when we were paying attention to mobile games, they were much like the back in the day, late 90s, early 2000s Flash games. You know what I mean? Like they weren't that well developed, but then you see a glimpse of what you can expect from what a different demographics looking for, which was Call of Duty, the mobile game. And that really bridged the gap for a lot of people, because a lot of mobile games haven't been Call of Duty or Madden. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole different demographic of people who are just going to remain untapped until that's what they can play on their phone, because they don't play all the other games. And then, you know, Call of Duty on the phone was actually pretty good. I saw it for myself and was just like, whoa. And then I got a chance to like play it, even though I don't play Call of Duty. It was very intuitive. The way it worked out was actually pretty all right. And I'm like, see, if this is what mobile games can do, it makes me take it a little bit more seriously. Phones that are built like gaming PCs. Have you guys seen some of the technology, some of the specs on some of these like phones that are coming out?
Yeah, but like phones are starting to be like sidekick PCs at this point, if they're not already.
Commercialized phones.
It's worse than that. He's talking about phones that literally have the specs or like minor specs of PCs. Like they were built for that purpose. No,
It's like your original question. What's better, console? Yeah.
Okay.
But phones, like there's like built phones, or not you can build phones, but like phones built like a gaming PC would be built versus a commercialized phone would be built.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And Panic knows, because he's, I believe, the one who brought it to my attention the first time. He's like, check this phone out. And it was like crazy. Or maybe I just ended up stumbling on it. I can't remember which. But effectively turned into a situation where this one phone was like $2,000 worth of technology crammed into this thing, and it had a dock. It had like ports you could use. It was effectively a
Ports.
real PC. Even had like a way to cool it down or something weird. I was like, what is going on? Like, am I missing something? Do we need this technology yet? Like, I don't think games have gotten to that point where they can, like when I brought up the situation with Donkey before, he's just like, do you really need a PS5? Is every game really taking full advantage of the system's like capabilities? No. Not even most of the games in PS4 took advantage of the system's capabilities. A lot of the games that are playing can run on a PS3, like that we have right now. The PS3, we have a PS5. It's getting to a point where we're getting a diminishing return. And yet cell phones are already gearing up to play these massive games on them. And I'm like, for what? I haven't seen the software to match it yet. You know what I mean?
Listen, man. Next Smash is going to be on the cell phone. You play Smash anytime.
Not the way
No. Yeah, like
even with the
if it wasn't
controller.
Nintendo, yeah. If it was like a regular game company, it's like Smash Mobile. Everyone's here. You can just play literally whenever, wherever, as long as you have the cellular or Wi-Fi connection. Oh god.
There's also another point that the same guy brings up about Angry Birds being the biggest thing ever, and it was a clone of Crush the Castle, which was a free Flash game. He also says, excuse me, if it ever takes off, game streaming will make mobile gaming a whole new animal too. And I'm just like, well, if you mean games being streamed, like streamed game services or streaming services for games, or game streaming on the phone, makes me wonder.
I think what I mentioned last week was it like streaming, like game streaming, yeah, like being able to play a game like on a server somewhere, but it's the full game.
Yeah, which has a lot of, do I own this game? Do I not own this game? Because I don't even own the digital
that's
music.
the issue with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant to buy like Final Fantasy VII Remake soundtrack just digital. I wanted a physical copy of that, which sold out and has remained sold out because I guess Square didn't think that their soundtrack was gonna really pop off. Like it wasn't like a award nominee worthy soundtrack.
But yeah, that was my subject.
Okay, not
Thank
bad.
you. 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay, that's how you initiated it.
Yes. It's not your turn. It's Panic's. Don't feel pressure.
Oh, is it? Oh, was it a panic? Yeah.
I thought he wanted to save his for last, but once he wants to talk about it now.
Oh, what was your topic?
It's not that I wanted to for last. It was just that I couldn't talk at that moment. I'm not sure I'll be able to talk today, so I told y'all two to go first and see what happens at the end.
Okay. Still the same situation?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm. 2 minutes is short enough. So the original topic that I was going to go with, I think two streams ago, I brought up games. I brought up the games that were trailered. The trailers that showed up during the Game of the Year awards. I think I brought that up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked you guys all your favorite games and what y'all be looking forward to playing. But I didn't realize how much I would enjoy one of those games after seeing the trailer. Like after seeing gameplay, that's what I was trying to say. So I posted a video of gameplay for Medium, or The Medium, which seems like a horror puzzle game that is akin to Silent Hill, but not as bad in terms of not as. When I say bad, I mean not as like scary. But looking at this game looks really, really intriguing to me. Just for me, purely because of the possibility of how good the puzzles will be.
Yeah, I have it open now. Oh wait, is it exclusive?
It's not.
Oh, okay. And just because it opened up, I was like, oh, Xbox. But
But
Xbox.
I need y'all to see that gameplay because it's really, really interesting.
so you said puzzle horror. That's I can't say I've seen that specific combination by itself. I'm actually interested to see how that functions. Puzzle horror. Like there are horror games with puzzles in them, but it's not the same. Like a game that is purely half puzzle and half horror.
I mean, Resident Evil. So.
No.
Again, a horror game with puzzles in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a horror
No.
game with puzzles in it.
No.
We're talking. Well, you kind of made it sound like Resident Evil was half puzzle, half horror.
No, you said a horror game with puzzles in it. That is a horror game with puzzles in it.
Oh, Medium is a puzzle horror, not a horror puzzle.
Yeah,
You-
like
Seen horror games with puzzles in it, but not specifically half
Not a
horror.
puzzle
Half,
game with
Like
horror
this-
all over it.
this seems more like a puzzle game with a horror theme.
It's like action RPG versus RPG action.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Oh God, please.
Well, the difference probably is that the RPG is really flashy, but still follows a fundamental role-playing game strategy and formula. But the action RPG specifically is action game with RPG elements.
May cry.
So basically, Devil May Cry compared to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, except I don't even think Devil May Cry has RPG elements in it. It really doesn't.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
like you level up the abilities,
Yeah, but you buy them.
but you have to
You don't
earn.
level up
You have to earn that cash
experience.
or
You have to, like,
orbs.
get the orbs. I feel like it's the loosest form of like RPG in a game. There's better examples of it, I'm sure.
No, I always thought Devil May Cry was an action RPG.
It's
Action.
just
Okay,
straight up action.
not an action RPG. I mean an action game with RPG elements, like you said.
Because you don't have numbers. It's not like damage. There's not numbers popping up in front of demons. Like everything does the same amount of damage. You just get access. Remove
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. It's not one of those situations. You have something like Dragon Quest where it's an RPG at its core. And then you have something like Final Fantasy 15 where it's an action game at its core with RPG elements. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be easier to call the Final Fantasy VII Remake a true hybrid, where it's all action, but also all RPG, because it is an RPG. It's one of the most balanced forms of it. But then if you look at something that's, like, out of the whole entire idea of it, that's more of an action RPG, think of something like, I was about to say Hades. But that has its own genre thing going on. It's not so specific to this. Think of like Infamous. I was trying to think of a game that you played that you loved. That is an older version of it. Infamous is an action game with RPG elements written all over it.
Oh, so what about Spider-Man?
No, I don't know about that. I don't think that there's numbers involved in leveling up skills and abilities and stuff.
Okay.
I feel like God of War isn't either. Like, I think I actually made a misstep there. Did Infamous have actual damage increasing or like numbers, damage, and things of that nature? Or was it just you got access to more abilities and stuff?
No, it had numbers like your abilities leveled up and the main character also
Because
leveled
you
up.
got stronger.
It would be an action game.
No,
you
you actually did more damage.
you
Right.
did more damage on
Yeah.
on normal
Yeah.
moves and stuff. Because
Yeah.
God of War does that too.
Well,
But it's
maybe
a pure action game.
well,
It wasn't.
God of War has been both. Like, do you mean the before or after?
Both, because it really doesn't change. It's the fact that you just get access to more abilities.
Could have fooled me. Traditional God of War is straight up like Devil May Cry minus the style,
And
sexy.
even that had puzzles in it. You know,
Like new
Yeah.
God of War is way more RPG esque.
It was
in my
supposed to be, and then it turned out not to be. It was going to be a straight up like Skyrim mod, and then it turned out to just still be more action. I was surprised, pleasantly so. But you basically just earn more abilities. You can do more shit. That's about it. It's not like your basic attacks do a palpable amount of more damage. You know, like that you can see with numbers, with a heads-up display that's like, do you want to do this action? And it's like super effective. Like, I get it, but it's more like action. If there's less to keep up with stats, then that's when I don't call it RPG elements. I just call it action. So that's the distinction I want to make.
This game looks really interesting, and it actually does this just straight up puzzle game that's like secondary horror. I can't say I've seen that split balance personally.
Yeah, the split balance that you would find in, say, Remake, per se. Except it is predominantly action. In this case, if you look at a horror game, you think of something like Fatal Frame.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Fatal Frame. Yeah.
You know, like, what would you call that? Did it have puzzles? Yeah.
A ton of them.
A ton. But it wasn't a puzzle game. The point of the game was to scare you shitless. That was the priority.
It had a very unique combat system. So that's what makes it really hard to place, in my opinion.
Well, it wasn't a puzzle game, trust me.
Alright.
I'm gonna turn off the like Animal Crossing music since they collide.
The medium. Well, when is this coming out, Panic?
Comes out January 28th.
Of course. Why wouldn't it? Okay.
So the game trailer, but yeah, I was just looking at it. I was like,
It is giving me tank control vibes though, more along the lines of like Quantic Dream, but the camera angles give me the idea of Resident Evil. Seems like a cool hybrid.
So there's a point. Skeptic. What part in the gameplay trailer are you at right now?
Literally half.
Okay, cool. So there's a point where she's going to get chased by something. You'll see it. You'll see it for a brief moment until she crosses back over to the real world. But then she's still getting chased by it, and she doesn't do anything about it.
It looks like if Silent Hill got infected with the T-virus.
Silent Hill.
I mean, that would be quite the
Ridiculous.
desperate
But in order to
situation.
survive, you have to play a children's card game. That's how it's
I
Or
see.
you go to
I see
the real
medium
Shadow Realm.
as like the silent, the more sub Silent Hill. I think that's what he said before. It does seem like that.
Yeah.
on the Silent Evil. Copyright.
Where are the puzzle elements? I'm looking for them. I'm seeing a lot of theatrical.
Built
It's not
into the
stuff.
thing.
So is it horror with puzzle, or is it puzzle with horror?
It looks like it's puzzle with horror.
Huh.
So like, what part of the video you're at, Anima?
Me, I'm at 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Oh,
I haven't
no.
gotten into any of it yet.
You gotta get past like 5 minutes, and then you'll see a lot more.
So you'll see why I'm interested in this in terms of being a puzzle game once it gets to the point where it's split screen. Because
Yeah. I'm gonna pause it. Just got there.
right, and you play the game like that, man. Not the whole game.
There it is, and that means it's puzzle with horror.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like this is definitely primary puzzle.
I'm just
Okay.
like, this is really interesting.
She went double trigger on me.
Devil True. She decided to go to the other side and have two of herself be at it. It's interesting, but I'll let you guys handle all that.
Hold
I
on, I'm
can't
gonna
really
watch
handle
this.
horror.
We're gonna.
Oh,
You
come
gonna
on.
get that rise? I might actually.
I
You
can't
might all have to
handle
download the demo and play that in a minute. I'll talk about it. But let me look
Well-
at what's going on here.
Demo for what?
Me?
Demo for what?
Monster Hunter Rise. It's a demo we can all play together.
About it? Yeah.
Free demo. Free shot. Free shot.
I've never liked I've gave Monster Hunter a try 3 times. Each time I did.
You probably
Do
got
you-
bored.
I remember. No. He had a specific reason, but I can't remember what it was. Was it just you said it was too slow or something of the sort?
I think that's what it is.
And you know, like Monster Hunter, like it goes back and forth between fast gameplay and like not slow, but for lack of a better word, slow gameplay. And like I do understand like that feeling, so I do know what you're talking about. Especially after games like freaking Kingdom Hearts and Devil May Cry, you just want to go, like you're a superhuman. But Monster Hunter is like, wait, hold up, I need to eat. Wait, hold up, I need ammo. Okay, wait, hold up, I need to do this.
It's a little bit more, even though I shouldn't say realism. It has.
No, yeah, that's the better word for it. Yeah, it's slightly more real.
What's realistic about a guy in like animal armor with a giant ass weapon flying around and just beating up giant monsters?
Okay, except for the fantasy aspect, like the combat has a realistic approach in the sense of you get tired, you get weighed down, you get hungry, all that shit in mid-combat while trying to survive the freaking Rathalos can be annoying.
I think that I don't really like survival games too much.
You know what? It's a survival action RPG.
Survival action hunting RPG.
Because like you definitely got to survive. You just can't roll up. Like if you just roll up, you will get clapped immediately. You need to prep.
I might have to play this because it's predominantly puzzle. I just don't like hard games. That's the whole point of it, is to scare you shitless. I'm just not about it.
Yeah.
I don't like those either. This is why I never played Silent Hill. Why I didn't play the first 3 Resident Evils. But
well, those games aren't scary looking back. Let's be honest.
Well,
The most terrifying part was the fact that you can't.
It depends.
I can't go that way. That's so cool. It's like, wait, I can't climb the staircase.
and the fact that she points it out makes it very interesting because like she still has to follow the real world laws while she's like that, but she can see into whatever the world is.
So wait, that giant hole there, she can't go there in the bottom spot?
The stairwell you talking about?
No, like there's a hole before the stairwell.
Yes, I believe.
I'm sorry, in the bottom part, like
I think
underneath.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't think. No. I think while she's like that, she has to follow the real world laws while looking into the spirit world. I think that's what it is.
I love that it's third person. Like too many games. No bias, but complete bias. I'm not the biggest fan of first person.
Screw you too.
For out of body experience.
Person, so.
Well.
Oh no.
She can sort of separate from where she is in the real world.
Balancing is never a good thing for what I see in a game.
And you'll see what I'm talking about as she does that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. No, this is a puzzle horror. Like it looks purely 2 and 2. That's actually really cool. I like that. We need more of this.
Oh, that's kind of tension building because then you have to be quick.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad she pointed out, and I didn't realize it. You'll start to see it. You'll start to see what she's talking about.
Oh yeah, she's starting to wither.
Yes, and I was like, "Oh, that is awesome."
That is really.
And you still have to maintain some level of composure. I see.
And now, both of y'all, I figured this out while watching the gameplay. Both of y'all, did y'all see like when she's in the elevator? This is not the first time it shows up, but when she's in the elevator, in the spirit, in the split screen that's the spirit world, you see the white wall.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember seeing that white wall on the staircase? It was, if you go back and look at the staircase, at the top of the staircase, there's a white wall. That white wall means that she can only pass there if she's in an out of body experience. When the one on the stairwell goes away when she's in the out of body experience, and I was like, oh.
Bro, this is an Xbox exclusive.
Wait.
You lied to me.
An Xbox exclusive?
It clearly says it at the end.
Oh, I didn't see that. Damn.
Well, guess I'm not playing that.
Oh, looks like it is on the Xbox.
It'll be on PC too, but really just those two for now.
Oh, good thing.
On what?
Good thing you're getting Xbox, right, Panic?
Good thing we all have PCs.
Yeah. Good thing I have a gaming computer I haven't used yet.
Well, that's been an interesting experience. Well, okay.
Yeah, Silent Evil. Coming out January 28th.
Silent Evil. Okay.
Stop.
Well,
Interesting.
All right. Well, I think that I've seen enough to understand what's going on, so I can kind of get back to blows.
Oh, there's another you need to see.
Well, all right. So she got stuck, and now she's just playing on the bottom screen, right?
Yeah, but it's going to skip ahead. Okay, yeah. So now she's just playing on the bottom screen. So skip ahead maybe like 2 minutes. So she's stuck in the spirit world. She used a mirror to get to the spirit world, and she needs to find her way back to the real world, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait.
There you go.
mirrors do
Horror
that?
aspect.
She needed a certain item to give you insight. She finds that item in the spirit world, an exact replica of that item in the spirit world, gets herself back to the real world. But right before she gets back to the real world, she starts being chased by something. That's what I want you to see.
Oh.
It'll be cool if like reflections allow her to switch, like water, mirrors.
It might be all reflections is possible, because this game
That's
only showed the mirror, but I don't see what it would be.
that'd be awesome. Like you're just hauling ass, and then like you like pass some water, like switch. You switch.
Interesting. She has a power that she uses to repel stuff when she uses the white stuff.
The same power she used to power the generator in the spirit world. It's that same thing she's using. She calls it spirit energy, or energy of the spirits, energy of the soul, something like that.
so you found a game that intrigues you. Very much so.
Another like 2 minutes. Anima.
What?
Skip forward another like 2 minutes, Anima. I'm trying
you
to.
said 2 minutes. I skipped one just because I figured I want to catch the moment. I like that figurine.
So,
Sink water. I'm hungry.
Uh-oh, here comes that Crash Bandicoot.
Crash
Really?
Bandicoot, what?
Oh no, it didn't say that.
Crash 5.
What's
Hey.
happening right Anima?
He's like,
Tap.
it's like into this video, man.
Yeah, what? He told me to watch it, and I'm watching it, and then something showed up, and it was like, stay! Equivalent to how a dog tells you to play!
See, so what?
Okay, I'm gonna watch. Oh my goodness. It also exists in the other world.
Right. And she can't do anything about it.
Wait, how did that happen?
I think it followed her through the mirror.
Oh, lordy.
I think it's more or less that it's always been there.
Possible that too, because it's supposed to be a spirit.
Right.
And it followed her, or like she's now aware of their spiritual presence on the other side.
Oh. Oh, yeah, she had to wait for him to knock the door open. But it's a ghost. Effectively, you would have not known it was there unless you had that connection in the spirit world, huh? Like,
Possibly.
now you
And
can
it-
kind of haunted stuff.
And it with her like because she was in the spirit world and it wanted company. Spirit's lonely apparently. And all she could do was just hide behind something and hold her breath. And that is a mechanic of that we'll say fight, because she can't fight it. She has to run away from it.
Hmm.
Yeah, ain't no fighting that.
No, he just here to stay. Oh, so sad. Play with me.
Oh,
Play dress up. It's a girl? Oh, wow. You can be the dress. Ew.
Oh my god.
that's messed up.
There goes that whole aspect.
Well, as interesting as that may be, we're gonna have to finish this up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the end. Let's just call it what it is. That's cool, first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, honestly, a horror game has to be more cool than scary for me to get into it. It's kind of like how a spicy food has to be more flavorful than just I'm gonna kick your butt for me to do it. Like, I'm not a thrill seeker in that sense. I don't necessarily need to take the potato chip challenge and like literally feel like I'm dying. Like, everyone who's done it has just straight up regretting it, no matter how tough they are. I don't need that. But if it tastes really good, then obviously I'm going to have some. You know what I mean? It's a balance.
Okay. Well, with
Then
that
I'll
being
play
said,
Think
I
summer.
hope when the game comes out, y'all will have fun with it, because knowing my coward self, I probably wouldn't be able to play it.
You can do it.
I'm
be
not into
afraid.
horror. I don't think
Wow.
I've ever actually
enough.
sat down and played like a game that had horror aspect in it without having like some sort of advantage in it.
Bruh,
So,
I gotta hear the sound.
I'm not in a horror either. And I've played Until Dawn, and I've only played it with Skeptic watching. I have not touched that game since I stopped. I'm not in a horror.
That game is such a like teen horror though, specifically. It's like axe murderer horror. I never like feel like that stuff's super scary. I feel like it's thrilling. I could play that like I could play the sheer horror that was
Yeah,
Heavy Rain. Because that had some real life scary situations. That was scarier than anything I played that was supposed to be scary. Because it's not obnoxious jump scares. It's like, oh my god, this guy is trying to actually kill me by trapping me in a car and it's about to go into a trash compactor. I think that was the most stressed out I've ever been in a video game. More so than anything that what was it? Oh gosh. Skeptic, help me out. I'm trying to think. My brain's scattered, so I can't think of monikers right now.
Resident Evil, Silent
No.
Hill.
No, Detroit.
Oh, cool.
Detroit had some cool situations, but nothing really stressed me out like Heavy Rain did.
No, I agree with you.
In game of that was like, whoa.
But
And
Rain had more of a mystery aspect because, you know, along with not dying, you still had to find out who the origami killer.
I know the origami killer, but Rain was supposed to be more horror, and it just falls flat. It's more annoying than anything else. Because like the gigantic poltergeist that hits the desert is just so humongous and overwhelming and out of place. You know what I mean? It's just like, are we gonna talk about how massive this thing is and why we're not like seeing occurrences of this throughout the world? Like, why this isn't being talked about? You know, like she's got this connection to the spirit realm, but like we're not gonna delve into the lore of what's happening. You know what I mean?
Nah, fuck all that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it never really got explained. It never really got incorporated into the story. It just happened. It was just like, oh, you just got this gigantic poltergeist, massive poltergeist. Can we talk about this? Most of the game doesn't focus on what's going on with the spirit world and its connection to the real world. It's just there. So it wasn't scary. It was annoying, and the controls didn't help. The fact that you're just like, oh, you have to see what you're supposed to do. It was like very little heads-up display. I'm glad the next two games only increased the visibility of the heads-up display because more often than not, it wasn't clear through their like scripting of the scenes where I was supposed to dodge or go. It just wasn't good. Like, heads up. It's like, hey, there's a canister coming this way, but you got to go towards it to avoid it. Like, what? Bow! Up, too slow. Like, I mean, you gave me 3 seconds to figure that out. It's not very clear.
No. We're going to save that. That's a whole topic that I want to discuss next time.
I'm sure. That's also been a trend in our stream.
Controls and in decision-making game. That's going to be its own subject.
I'm going to go back through all of the podcasts and make a whole list of things we said we were going to talk about later.
Yeah, no, please, no. I actually need someone to like.
Because the one thing I wanted to talk about was like the publisher developer relationship, but that's like worth the whole entire podcast. That's a big topic, you know. But yeah, let's not go there. What's up, Sync Weaver? What you got for us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were just getting the podcast because, you know, interesting topics. No, I'm kidding. As you may know, I have to, you know, I have to stick with what Anima tells us what we are, and I'll be the ranty one. If you guys have not noticed, a certain game company has updated their video policy, and Maximilian Dude actually talked about this before. Capcom has updated their video policy and has basically said that due to its terms of service and how things that, you know, their content and anything that involves their content, as long as it's a let's play, a tutorial, a walkthrough, a speedrun, a review, a reaction, an instructional, and it has commentary in it, it's allowed on YouTube, Twitch TV, and your website, and other streaming services, right? But there are things that just doesn't always work out with their policy because they're a business. They are a company. So images and like GIFs in this stuff, and Maximilian is directly affected by this because a lot of his emotes in his Twitch chat has a lot of Capcom images, and there are some music in there as well. And if you don't own some of that songs, like, please know that some game soundtracks or songs may not be owned by Capcom, so it's like something up in the air, and I'll talk about that shortly about music. But Capcom has basically said, hey, anything with our image in it, you're gonna we have to give you permission, or we're just gonna strike your channel down. No ifs, ands, or buts. And
what if it's fan-made, though?
No ifs, ands, or buts. If it's like, if you take an emote, right, and it has like reused face in it, or if it has like Ken's face from like some sort of Street Fighter GIF or something like that, if it's fan made, it would technically be in the gray area of copyright. I would say it would be in that gray area, which definitely rolls around like I guess you could say. You know how people argue all over YouTube about just that one gray area where if you criticize or parody something, it belongs in there. I think that's what that is. But if it's like a direct image, if it's something that is actual sprite or artwork that Capcom owns, even if it's just like a little emote, or you just put it on your stream as something that pops up every few seconds, like me, I have a Terry Bogard like follow. So I might have to take that down because of this, and it's not like it's Terry Bogart's owned by Capcom. It's owned by SNK, which has a higher company, but companies are following suit and are making similar policies on their products, and that's not just in Japan.
Why? What the hell caused this?
Well, the music industry just buckled down.
That's all you had to say.
And they are basically kidding every single content creator that has used their music. And fair enough. You know, that's their property, I guess. But what they seem to lack to understand is that when people hear their music on stream, some people seek out that music. Some people go out of their way to buy the music. Some people will become fans of that music, but they don't think that way. They think that that's free use of their music. And
they think that you just compose that shit yourself, and anyone that wants to go find it is going to go to your channel.
Something to that nature. It's more or less that copyright is being doubled down on, and what's really hurting this whole entire thing is that companies are just doing what they have to do to protect their copyright, which, fair enough. However, it seems that they lack the understanding of what what free marketing is all about, really. They expect to be paid in some way when someone uses or shares their music, even criticizes it in ways. And of course, you can't commercialize any of video games or music or movies or anything like that. If you try to commercialize it and try to get paid for it, which technically some content creators are doing due to and they put this like, hey, if you have ads, hey, if you're getting like Patreon or something like that for taking our artwork and stuff like that. And as I know, a lot of you guys would probably say, well, that's fair, right? You guys would probably say that's fair because they're redrawing maybe a logo from SNK, and they didn't ask SNK's permission, so technically SNK can stop the project. It's the same thing Nintendo does, and Nintendo has been hardballing, shutting down pretty much everything. They've just shut down 365 websites that was that had their ROMs, right? And some of them didn't even like, well, a few of them was trying to get monetary value out of it, which is wrong. You shouldn't do that, because then, I mean, like, what are you trying to do? Sell them their ROMs, not even their actual games, without going through Nintendo. So I'm okay if that's like, you know, it's against the law. However, some of these websites are also archives of games that nobody can no longer find or even try to find or keep, because Nintendo is really bad at online right now in terms of their market, like their online store. It's bad. Like, not saying it's horrible and it's the worst, but compared to like the Wii U, which did it better, it's bad. They don't sell Game Boy games. They don't sell well, they're giving away some of their SNES and their NES games, but like, that's not really, in my opinion, that's not really what I think people wanted. Like, if somebody wanted to play Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3 again, they have to wait. They had to wait. They're out now, but they had to wait for that game to be available on Nintendo Online. Instead, you know, back in the Wii U, when you wanted to get Donkey Kong Country, you paid like 5 Wii points, or you've paid $5 to get the game specifically because it's the game you wanted.
Yeah, Nintendo actually did that on purpose. They wanted a reason for people to pay for online. Right.
And people wanted to pay for online, and online is still subpar, if not even the inklingest of like anything that really like people were asking for. We're paying like $20 a year, right? $20 a year or $40 if like family, I think. But it's cheap, but it's not like the online service actually really like gives us too much. They've never fixed their infrastructure on online. They tried to give us an app on a phone in order to talk with one another, right? Even though we have phones and we have a Discord, which you can use on your phone, if anything. So people are not really using the app outside of Japan. Even Japanese people are not really using the app. So it's not really working out too well in that part. And all the stuff on the online store, I mean, the online store as it looks and as it works is kind of bad, even compared to that of like PlayStation. And PlayStation, I say, is also pretty bad. On the PlayStation 4, at the very least, I can't really find a lot of games. I have to search for where all the PlayStation 2 games. Like, it's really hard to get there on the PlayStation 4 store. And I would say the best online store is probably Microsoft. They have like a straightforward online shop. And I don't know where this is coming from. A lot of the game companies are buckling down on their policies. They're buckling down on copyright, which is fair. Fine with that. But some of it just seems to be kind of like the punishment is kind of big. Like, we know Nintendo will sue somebody like millions of dollars if they infringe on their copyright. But now other game companies are pretty much kind of doing the same thing. And it's really striking a divide between content creators and some of these game developers and some of these game companies. So it's not just Nintendo. It's not just it's a lot of it's actually in Japan, but I think that's because of their culture and possibly their business thinking and how they take their business, which it's not really helping, because as of recently, it's kind of odd to say, but there's some market there's some it's funny. Sony, I think their PlayStation division actually moved from Japan to San Francisco, which is odd.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the game department for Sony has moved from Japan to San Francisco. Their headquarters moved. And the reason for that is because apparently business over there is a lot different from over here. And I guess I can't say I'm really complaining about it because it's law. This is law. It's policy and law. And I've always had a forward thinking whenever I stream. I'm always playing copyright-free, royalty-free music. At least I try to find them, and then sometimes I get surprised, and it's like, this has been copyrighted by Square Enix. I'm like, who? And it's like, by one core company. I'm like, who's this? It's a subsidiary of Sony. Never heard of them, but okay. And
Surprise copy.
yes, pretty much. Surprise copyright. I'm like, oh, okay. I've never even thought about this. Like, you can't play Final Fantasy's Prelude on your videos no more. You can't do that no more. You can't. Yeah.
You want something else? Tell me why Final Fantasy's battle theme from when? So I'm talking about Opera Omnia. So if you use Cloud's Burst, which plays the Final Fantasy VII battle theme, there's a very strong chance of the video getting copyright stricken on YouTube. But you're playing.
Not just on YouTube anymore. They're striking down on Twitch now. So what's happening and what's happened on YouTube, what's happening there, is also happening on Twitch now. So
but my point is, you're playing the game and you need to mute the theme from a attack on the game so your video doesn't get copyright stricken. What? Huh?
Nonsense.
Again, it's the thinking.
What about Smash, where the theme's just in there?
That's probably the worst thing about it, because what if Nintendo really does come down on Smash, which has literally over 1,000 pieces of music, right? So what if they came down on that?
I don't play the game with the music on anyway. It sucks, but I really don't do it. And the reason is because of this. I would rather play my own stuff, and then I have to now skip my Final Fantasy songs. Like, I have to go through and actually delete all the Final Fantasy music in my playlist so it doesn't play, because I know that it's going to create an issue. And my channel is based around Final Fantasy. Like, if I can't play Final Fantasy VII on stream, which you can't. Apparently, you guys all know Buckles. He had every last one of his VODs for playing Final Fantasy VII Remake on Twitch claimed. All the VODs were silenced. It's wild to think, but that's exactly what happened.
For playing a game?
Yeah, just playing it.
I can't with this. I can't with this.
I don't even know if that's gonna happen to everybody else's. Like, I don't know.
No, it's already happened, because the big streamers were hit first.
Yikes.
To be set, they were the example.
Too? Hold on, let me find out.
So the big streamers were the examples. They wanted to make an example out of the big streamers first. Then they started going after the little streamers.
Hold on, though.
Twitch had to like change their policy to match. They tried to be better than YouTube, and Twitch is already like failing at being a streaming service when it comes to the background. Just as YouTube fails as being a content service in the background, they really don't help much. Again, all of it is just business on business action, and they're out of touch of what's actually going on in the inside. You have these big companies with big bosses who have no idea how gaming culture work, and they set these rules up so that they can get the monetary value of the claims of what's going on here. Like, even it's kind of odd, because Capcom, when you look at their video policy at the beginning, it looks standard, right? It's okay. Some of it makes sense. Like, don't spoil their games, or they're just going to take all. Well, okay. If you spoil something, apparently they have the authority to just strike your channel down. They could
That's bullshit.
They can just strike your because apparently that's part of the clause. It's like, hey, so we're gonna strike your channel down, and you're like, excuse me? It's like, yeah, you talked about a spoiler, so Max had to take down one of his VODs talking about a spoiler. and it was a I'm not sure which spoiler it was, but he had to take the VOD down, he had to take the video down because they were saying, "Hey Max, listen, we're just giving you like it was people from the actual company of Capcom. They were just like, "Hey Max, listen, we're good with you, so we're just gonna forewarn you. You got to take that video down, man, or they're just gonna come at you heads on. We're gonna have to strike you down, or give you a strike on YouTube, or we're gonna have to like ask Twitch to like suspend your channel." And he was just like, "Excuse me, what?" And so he had no choice. He had to take it down. And Capcom also is trying to stop all the lewd stuff of their characters, which that's impossible because this is the internet, and the internet is perverted.
Oh yeah.
You can't stop that. But in one of their clauses, in one of their clauses, it's called inappropriate content. And
what about cosplay though?
Like cosplay, like you're walking around in real life, right, in a convention. That's not being displayed on the internet. That's you walking around.
But if the pictures of that cosplay get on the internet,
now that is actually something they allow, though, because that that's like an appreciation, and it's not like the character that you're representing.
What about lewd cosplay?
I mean, if it's lewd cosplay, of course they'll probably find a way to put that into inappropriate content and try to shut it down.
So then, what about Felicia?
Yeah, I'm about to say like Felicia.
Or Morgan. They are by
Morgan. In fact, Darkstalkers as a whole, this guy.
That probably just goes in with cosplay in their eyes, because Felicia and Morgan are characters of their games, and if people come in to represent that to the T, they probably say that, oh well, depending on, they'll probably leave that to like the area, like, hey, can she walk around like this? Because they'll probably just, oh, they're just being our character. It's their responsibility to whether be appropriate with it, and it's the area's responsibility if they allow that kind of cosplay to walk around, because it's still their character at the end of the day, and they'll still let that happen. But what they're when it comes to like inappropriate content, yeah, if you're using that cosplay and you have an OnlyFans account and you're using that OnlyFans account for lewd things, they will shut that down.
I can't even.
Just to clarify, so inappropriate content is using Capcom titles to create videos and other content, including mods, that is illegal, racist, sexist, prejudice to sexual orientation, sexually explicit, disparaging, promotes hate crimes, or is otherwise offensive, and it's not tolerated. And on those cases and bases, Capcom reserves the right to take down content that is found to be inappropriate or objectionably at our discretion. So they could just come in and just shut it down. So like anything, I agree with some of that though, because like illegal, racist, sexist, prejudice to sexual orientation, sexual exploitation, disparaging, and promotes hate crimes. Yeah, take all that shit down. But when it comes to like mods, that's where I have a problem, because mods is usually like a person fixing their game, because
or like creating an aesthetic difference.
Yeah, like an aesthetic difference in the Capcom game, which is huge, by the way, in the Capcom sphere. When it comes to mods, people do that all the time.
Yeah. But you know what? It's another issue of, if they did it for us, we wouldn't have to, but they literally can't. So they should leave it be. It's not a matter of their best interest to go out of their way to make all of everyone's dreams come true, but people are just going to do it their own selves. To literally try to stop people from doing that means this is what it is and this is how it's got to be. And you can't do anything about that.
Right.
Actually, we can. We have perfect capabilities. Do you want to hire a team of people who allows this to be a marketable thing so you guys can just make money off of it?
They won't allow that because that's commercializing. So if you're making money off of mods, they can stop it.
No, I'm saying they hire the people to do it for their, like, so you can't commercialize somebody else's mods by hiring the people who are making the mods and just saying, hey, let's release this as official product.
They could, they could do that, but
that's what I'm saying.
But I don't think they would actually go and I don't think they would actually go out of their way to do all that.
Well, that's where we have to come in and say, hey, if you won't let us do it, at least hire us to do it and sell it with you or for you.
That is like asking a bunch of grumpy higher businessmen to actually care about the gaming world.
Well, the thing is, though, I don't think every single person can fit under that umbrella. Like, not every single developer or publisher is that out of touch. I think some would, or if I should say so myself, the ones who are going to be successful under this new kind of like cracking down on content are the ones who are going to capitalize on something like that.
So you want to know something?
What?
Right? You know why? Because there are a few game companies that actually are doing that. So,
and they're going to be the ones who thrive. I personally have to see an upheaval of literally every single thing that is trying to stop people's freedom of expression, because it doesn't work. It does comply and address things that have gone on that are illegal, yes. Right. However, it has to be done in a way where you give us an alternative. We're only doing it because we want to see it.
So, let me give you an example of a company that actually just came out of a hole. Sega. They were in the hole. And because the people that were so passionate about Sonic Mania, they gave them the reins to create the game. Apparently, Sonic Mania sold pretty well, right? Sold pretty well. Their labor for the people who they hired was pretty cheap comparatively to like Sonic Team. So not only did they save money on Sonic Mania, they also came out with a good game with Sonic Mania. And it was all made by people who were fans of the game and not really like... They were contracted, really. It had to be through official means, obviously. But they got out of a hole with Sonic Mania. And somewhat through Sonic Forces, but Sonic Mania kind of just like rose above Sonic Forces by a long shot. And that, like, the last time they spoke, they said, we'll take the time to think about what we do with our future properties. So that's why, like, Yakuza has been doing pretty well. They've been keeping it in the oven, letting it cook, and they've been taking the advice of actual fans and people who like the series of their games.
Nani?
Yeah, Sega is turning around because I believe the infrastructure of their leadership has changed as well. So there's more young minds that are sitting in the leadership position. But that's just Sega, and Sega has been like teetering on the side of like, is our company going to survive or not?
It's fair.
But when it comes to like maybe Capcom, Nintendo, EA, Activision, and anyone like who's just Activision in general, they don't really care too much about it, because at the end of the day, they're still going to get money, no matter what. They don't really care. If Nintendo still does the things they do 5 years down the line, they don't really need to care about it. They really don't need to listen to anybody, because you know they're going to make money. You know they're going to actually make a competent game, and they know people are going to buy it. Like, the next Pokemon game, people are going to buy it. The next Zelda game, people are going to buy it. The next Mario game, people are going to buy it. Nobody's not going to buy it.
Whoa, don't attack Zelda like that. Zelda's a good fucking game. I think there's maybe been one, and I can't even think of it, one Zelda game that has not been good.
Well, like, I can't even say that. I'll say like at the most, like at the worst, like Zelda might be like a B plus, like one of their games. Well, and in my opinion, that's still pretty freaking.
People have been comparing Breath of the Wild to Skyrim. One of my friends said that if I were to rate Skyrim and Breath of the Wild, they'd be the same grade. And he's like, well, I was like, what would they grade then? Would they be the grade? And you're like, a C or 70% or a 7 out of 10. I was like,
what?
Oh, so
what
you
kind
don't.
Of blasphemy?
Well, he didn't really like Breath of the Wild all that much, but at the same time, he enjoyed Skyrim, and it's not like he didn't enjoy Breath of the Wild. He just rates them the same. and that's all in the perspective of the person. And that's fine. I'm fine with how he sees it.
I've
But
actually will say that they like Breath of much.
well, I mean, okay, so I wouldn't rate Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity higher than the first Hyrule Warriors. I think that game is actually better. I honestly think so.
But I'm doing Age of Calamity.
So when you do play it, like the game is still fun, but it's not as like it doesn't have as much content as the first Hyrule Warrior, and there's a reason for that because it centers around the Breath of the Wild storyline, so it makes sense. Or I'm not making Zelda an example of like a game that was bad or anything like that. I'm saying that no matter what Nintendo comes out with, people are going to buy it. Like one of the games that didn't sell well, especially a game that was supposed to be like one of the last on the 3DS, was that Pikmin game, and people didn't like it, and nobody really liked that game. And when they came out with Pikmin 3 for the Switch, people were like, "Oh yeah, thanks Nintendo." Oh, I'm like, guys, this is a fucking scheme. Like, do you not see what they're doing? They are reselling Pikmin 3 on the Switch because they're not going to sell it in the store on the Wii U anymore because it's been taken off. So what they're like, Tropical Freeze, for instance, they took it off of the Wii U store and put it on the Switch online store and put it back to $60, while on the Wii U it was $30.
I don't like that.
Wow, scheme.
I would want to play Donkey Kong Country Returns. Thankfully, I own it, but I don't feel like pulling out my Wii U to play it. You know?
They take advantage of like people who weren't in the now. So, for instance, Nintendo is, you know how Nintendo's making a limit on Super Mario 3D All Stars, right? And it's by March it's gonna be gone. And they're for Super Mario like 35, I guess. I heard that the game, not only will it not be in the store, but the servers are going to shut down, so you can't even play the game by March. Which I don't know why they're doing this. Like,
I'm more concerned about like the music situation, just because that's what the conversation is in chat right now. Where I have to like. What I want to like specify via voice real quick is that when it comes to the music aspect, so Insane in the Rain that I mentioned, he also just changed his Patreon, because I'm a patron of his, to where he can't mass distribute the MP3s and the waves of his covers anymore. He just can't. Like, the reason is because I pay monetary, that's like a monetary reward. I support him and he gives me access to that, but technically he doesn't own the rights to the music that he's covering. So he has to change that. And then there's touring, which you also can't do. And I mentioned MagFest. I'm like, if MagFest charges money for people to come in and see musical acts of video game covers, I don't know how well that's going to blow over now. And another example to kind of like drive the idea home is, think of it this way. So there's a law where if you open up a restaurant, for instance, you can't play. And I don't mean music on the radio. Like, you have to get the rights to play music on the radio, first of all. Like, anything that you're playing, pop songs and all that stuff, like, you need to actually be able to do it if you're going to use that as a means to, entertain guests in your establishment. You have to have the rights to music to play it, technically. To even just play it. It's commonplace because we go into a lot of major corporations who can just do that, no problem. But when you're a small business, like there's a restaurant that was it was a barbecue place not too far from where we are, who would play the music on piano. They did live music nights where he would just take requests and play songs, because he used to be a musician traveling. He would play covers. He got into trouble for that. Legally, he's not allowed to play the covers unless he has the rights to play the music in his establishment as a form of entertainment that people come in.
I did not know that. I thought like a cover is just a cover.
No.
And if you say it's a cover.
it's not just a fair use thing. It's even if it's a cover, you're still playing the song. If you're singing the song, that's what happened with the whole Justin Bieber movement way back, or Justin Bieber movement way back on YouTube, where like you can't just sing songs on YouTube. You know, you can get jail time for that. Like, yeah, those are laws that have been in place this whole time. It's just that they haven't really been cracking down on them until recently. But there are laws that say, yeah, you can't even play covers unless you have the rights. You can't just open up a shop and then go and be like, I'm this guy playing this. You can't, unless you're an established cover band, which is why you notice a lot of people who are either really too small and fly under the radar if they're like traveling coffee house artists. You know, you don't see a lot of major bands just playing covers a ton. They have to have the rights. They can get sued. You know, there has to be an agreement. There has to be something there for them to be able to do that, because they charge people to come to their tour or their concert, and then they're playing somebody else's songs. Like, they can get in a lot of trouble for that. So you do have that part of the law that kicks in right around now, where people are having to change what they're doing now, because music, you know, publishers and, you know, companies that have the rights to this music want their money, effectively. Like, they're losing. They're losing big time. They have been for decades. And I get it, but then that comes into problems with how our whole entire like foundation of culture of streaming and video uploading goes.
It's
and
archaic.
Just like you talking about, like, no, they're not gonna stop doing lewd stuff of their characters. I'm like, it's been happening for decades. How are you gonna stop it? It's a war. It's effectively a war on what's effectively been just a normalization of criminal activity at the end of the day. Either the laws have to change or companies have to change the way they approach how they react.
Essentially both.
Oh yeah.
Because,
But
like,
you
the
can
law is definitely has not been actually rewritten in maybe over a decade. The Digital Millennium Act has not been upgraded or rewritten.
It's out of date.
Yeah, it's definitely
Back in the day, things weren't the way they were, like they are now, and it definitely needs to be updated. But it does still need to have. There has to be some respect for the artist's work. There has to be, because we are so used to just being able to get anything we want without paying for it. We're so used to it as normal. Like back when FrostWire and LimeWire were a thing, you guys remember that?
How did I forget?
Issue.
Man, you don't even know how many hours I spent thinking the start of my One Piece journey is definitely freaking LimeWire.
Yeah, that was technically the first normalization of a pirated activity. Like, it was always kind of considered taboo to pirate films, or to like go into a film or a theater and like film it. Like, you knew it was bad. But then when LimeWire and FrostWire kind of came and broke the mold of like, hey, you know what? You can just download any song you want. And iPhones were, or I should say iPods were growing in popularity, and everybody wanted access to hundreds of thousands of songs of music. Most of us were kind of stealing it because we didn't necessarily have an iPod or an iPhone. And then we wanted access to the music anyway. We wanted MP3s. So what happened? You know what I mean? It's a whole prohibition movement, like how alcohol got outlawed. Like, we found a way. And that's when it became an idea that maybe there should just be a music streaming service. That was the compromise, right? Like, here I am listening to Hamilton on Spotify. I pay for Spotify and I get that at my fingertips. That's a lot. Disney Plus, I pay for it, but I get to watch Hamilton on the streaming service. Before, though, I had to go watch the play, or I had to pay money to see it somehow. That's the compromise. We need to find compromises, effectively, is what I'm thinking. And it's not going to be as easy as a streaming service. It's going to be a little bit more messy.
Okay, well, the first thing I think that needs to honestly happen, the law has to change. And when the law changes, then the companies have to follow suit. Now, in America, that's kind of like backwards, because big time companies actually kind of run the country. Y'all know this, and I'm not going to get into that. But if the law is able to change within a country, then the businesses within the country has to follow suit. And if they don't, then the country can sue them or fine them a hefty sum of the business's money, which is what Europe is doing right now. When it comes to like loot boxes, because now it's actually been outlawed as gambling, and many, especially EA, has been trying to convince pretty much the entire system in Europe that this is just surprise mechanics.
Gambling.
It's all surprise mechanics.
Surprise, you wasted your money.
It's like, okay, well, tell me why did little Jimmy go and steal his mom's credit card just so that he can get a one player character from FIFA, and he spent like $5,000.
What?
Yeah, that's actually happened.
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah, like I don't know if y'all are, and we can make that a subject later, but like the whole loot box thing is dying. It's surprisingly quickly, more faster than I thought it would. It's definitely dying. And
Because EA media contention of problematic, like, hey,
Right.
this is illegal.
and
Stop it.
and funny enough, freaking, it's low key. It's truly EA's fault. Like they
Mhm.
sped up the process so much faster. They just could not stop being greedy for whatever reason. And now all the less powerful companies have to suffer because they were getting by. And you know what? I don't have an issue. Okay, that's a lie. Prior to EA being scumbags, I didn't have an issue with general loot boxes because $1 here, $2 there, $3 there. Okay, I get it. Make your extra money. EA is like, oh, you want to have fun? $15, bitch. I'm just like, oh, but I paid $60 for the game. I don't care. That was for the burger with just the meat and no condiments and one bun. If you want the bun, the lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise, and pickles on the side, we're gonna need about an extra $50. That was EA, fucking it up for everybody.
Yeah, and it needed to happen, honestly.
Didn't even realize you just bought another burger.
No, like you paid, because back in the day, $50 got you the whole game. Definitely 70 got you the whole game. Nowadays, it's like 100 plus.
70 was like...
The
70,
cap was the cap. Back in the
70
day.
was like the Super Size Me, bro. It wasn't like...
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me when I really think about it that we were talking about this as a community, as a gaming industry, way back in Gamer Magazine. You guys remember? I was calling it GMR. I didn't realize it was called Gamer, but I called it GMR. And before it became a major issue, we started to see the trend at its birth of where games were coming out incomplete and DLC was starting to help carry the development process by giving it more time. A lot of journalists had outcried against it, and it didn't matter. It happened anyway. And what really, really bothered me was that it was born from this idea, and again, we have to talk about it, crunch culture, like of developers being put under the gun, effectively, to produce. It just isn't realistic. It's kind of, I feel like how Amazon handles peak season. It crams so much into such a short amount of time, it literally can't handle it, but it forces it through. And it creates this situation where game developers, like, the burnout is real, or they're actually trying to do more than they can reasonably do in a short amount of time. And then you have this reliance and also this incentive to charge more money for the sheer impossible amount of work you were trying to cram into your game as extra content, when you should have just had a complete game in the first place. Like, the idea and the dynamic of it is so huge that it happened over 20 years. Me as a consumer, personally, I watched it happen. I'm only 29, but I was on this at like age 8. I was looking at this stuff because I started reading journalism magazines of gaming because I was interested in getting into the industry. What really got me the most wasn't that it happened, but it happened to such a degree it became normal. And then people were surprised when their games came out half-baked. All of a sudden, everybody just started to realize, hey, I'm paying $60 for half a game.
Yes.
It's like everybody just had a wake-up moment, and it happened to be because of the loop. It wasn't so much the people wing against it. It was more so that they then took the concept of all this extra content, created a gamble. and made it worse. So then it got should be complete before it releases. Maybe we shouldn't actually allow this to be a thing. And the fact that it hit Pokemon was the last straw for me personally, because I'm like, Pokemon, Game Freak, Nintendo, all of that should have been immune from this entirety. Like, never has Nintendo produced an unfinished game and charged for it, ever. Game Freak decided to dip into that pot, and that was when I realized that it had gone too far. Because it's not that Nintendo is incapable, it's just that they started to show signs. Like with their Mario Kart mobile. Remember that?
No, it's still happening. It's still going on.
Yeah. Why is that happening?
But it's free to play. So that's a little, the free to play kind of is like a gray area, because they're not getting money from anybody getting the game. They're only getting money from the loot boxes. But that's games because they're free.
Mario was not a starting character or something weird, right?
Well, okay. To play devil's advocate, as a free-to-play game, you will see more monetary value come from that than what they had with Super Mario Run, which is you get a demo, you pay $10, and you get the whole game. And it was a good game, right? But they didn't see a lot of money coming from that. They needed some way to do that. So between Mario Kart and Pokemon Masters, I think that's what it's called, which also has a loot box system kind of thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was lucky because my first Master was red, so I was kind of happy. But after that, it was kind of expensive to keep up, and that game has been kind of falling. Mario Kart, on the other hand, it's a very popular property, and people will just continue to play that, and they took advantage of that.
They took advantage of that. I was waiting for you to say it because I knew you were going to, because that's at the end of the day what happened. There's nothing else for you to say there.
The thing is that you say they took advantage of it. You say that in this case, you say that as if it's a bad thing. Again, they're not charging you. Then this is why I side on the side of free-to-play games more than anything else. The free-to-play, you choose to spend the money. You don't gotta. And I know this for a fact because I play a lot of free-to-play games and I spend very, very, very money.
You're free-to-play games that are less predatory. Like,
okay.
Like you don't have to spend money, but like when the game is like so minimal, or like there's like a huge ass curve where you almost have to spend money to eliminate said curve.
You don't play it, and that's
how
I
agree.
But here's where I think it's the most predatory. You're talking about Mario Kart. Most of the people who are playing this are going to want more than they realize the value. Like, they're not going to be able to make judgment calls on what their value of how much they should spend versus how much they end up spending or want to spend. The only thing that stops them is the fact that their parents can say no. But the idea is that it creates this culture. It's similar to how McDonald's with the Happy Meal created this culture of kids wanting to go to eat this junk food, more so because they wanted the appeal of the Happy Meal. There's the play place inside of the McDonald's to help have kids have fun, but like it became a thing where the kid desires the thing and it's not good for them. And because the parent's busy and consistently isn't home or has to rely or lean on fast food more so as their lives get busier, you find out that, these kids are getting kind of addicted to this stuff. Like, it's this idea of the boiling frog. I'm always going to bring it up. It's not so much that it's free to play and that you choose. It's that people are going to find themselves getting more and more wrapped up in it and spending more money along the way.
Okay.
If you get groomed in that culture, you're going to start to see a generation of kids who are paying way more money than what they absolutely need to enjoy a game.
I have an example of this. I think Skeptic's seen this video where I said I have a gotcha problem. I made a video called I Have a Gotcha Problem. And it's not that I've quit Opera Omnia, is that I had to slow down. Because not only am I playing Opera Omnia, but I am playing a whole bunch of other games off the cusp, especially like Genshin Impact, which is basically a really good-looking mobile game that you could also play on PC. But
Console.
and consoles, right? They made a really good-looking game, and they put effort into making it look that way. But one of the few things that they have implemented in these gacha games is even in Opera Omnia, and you can argue this, but there is the whole FOMO concept and the ability to actually feel some sort of joy from these games. We're talking about games that, like Mario Kart for instance, you're actually having fun with the gameplay, but in order to get more out of the game, you're going to need to keep playing the game to get its in-game currency, and getting the in-game currency takes a bit of time. Even in Dissidia Opera Omnia, it takes time to get a lot of these crystals, like 5,000, right? Just to get a 10-piece loot box, and you know you get more value out of that, you know, that 10 hit. Same thing with Genshin Impact, you get more value out of that 10 hit, which makes you play more of the game, which you invest more in the game, which makes you think. And this is not everybody, I'm not going to say that everybody thinks this all the time, but there people out there will think, maybe if I spend $5, $2, $1, $10, $15, I'm not gonna miss $20.
That was me.
And you sooner or later, when you look at the end of how much you spent, because I did this recently, I actually have like an Excel spreadsheet of what I spent throughout 2020. I spent a lot of money on Opera Omnia, and that was like, I don't know when I made that video, but when I looked at that spreadsheet, man, I was like, oh my god, because I was doing my taxes basically, and I was like, how much money did I spend on Genshin Impact? And that one was the newer one, and I'm like, oh god, I spent more money than spending it on a collector's edition.
You know what that's called?
But like,
before you say anything, Panic and Skeptic, let me give you guys just an economy, like an economics lesson real fast. That's called reducing the pain of paying.
Oh, I know what it is.
You know what it is. I know you do. But I'm telling this to the podcast. When the pain of paying is reduced, you don't realize just how much money you spent because it's in small increments. That's what creates shopping addictions. That's what creates gambling addictions. That's what creates addiction. It's predatory, no matter how you swing it. And that's why they call them gacha games, but I don't really care about that. I care about the fact that anyone is susceptible to that, not just children, but they're more impressionable and more susceptible to that. And they'll go out of their way to do something that doesn't make sense, like spending $5,000. Like, they don't get it. They're not paying bills. The thing is, like, when you create that situation, you're creating a whole new culture of consumerism.
Bruh, that's been in the culture this whole time. There are so many.
But it was never this. It was never this intense. Like it's ramped up crazily over like the past like 3 years. I'll say.
Well, okay, Panic. Say you're playing the devil's advocate. What is it that you want to convey to us in terms of this whole entire thing? We know it's been there for a while now, but at this point, if you get reports of kids spending thousands of dollars in a game that was originally $60, right? Like, they paid for the game, then they're paying for the game again, and then and again, and again, and again, and again. And I think you understand that. I think you understand it. But when it comes right down to it, like, it's still pretty bad. And it's like, even if you're an adult, which you can control yourself, these people are aiming at kids.
Yeah, Mario Kart is a family-oriented game. You know what I mean? We're not talking about enthusiasts here.
Bruh, I no matter what you say, if it's kids, adults control your kids. At that point, it's the adult's fault.
Right, right. And now that's not condoning what these companies are doing. That is still wrong. But if you look in your bank account and you're negative $5,000, that's entirely your fault. Right. Why does your child have access to?
I mean, I'll say it this way: if I'm gonna talk about parallels, I have to. If I mention McDonald's, think about how big of an issue obesity became, period. Like, yeah, it's the parents' fault, of course. Does it make our culture any less guilty as a whole of like
no.
Fast food, over
Fast food is a far worse example because of its overwhelming presence. Like, gaming hasn't entered the realm of gaming can't compete with fast food chain. Not yet. Like, fast food chain is up there, bro.
That's
like,
actually true.
You're hungry and you're passing all these fast food places. Like, it's a far more difficult battle.
Well, let me hit you with this one, then, Skeptic, because you're an expecting father, and my kid just turned 5. I didn't want to immerse my child into gaming culture. It's happening anyway. I didn't even want to immerse her into fast food culture. It's happening anyway. It's in the hands of whoever has her at the time, and that means that I can always avoid what can potentially happen, or the grooming of her to be used to say something like McDonald's. I don't eat at McDonald's anymore, but she does constantly. You know.
Wait, hold on, Emma. Right. So that does not say anything about your parenting. Yeah, you may be a good parent. I would be, and yeah, I'm going to say this. You need to get on her. Obviously, not your daughter. You need to get on her about taking her. Because
it's not just my wife though. It's my grandmother. It's her.
Yeah,
grandma.
like that's why. Like fast food is a way more difficult battle than like.
I'm the anomaly. You don't hear a lot of people say, I stopped eating fast food, like Burger King and Wendy's, McDonald's for 5-7 years now. Like, that's not normal.
Yeah, but if you and your wife are on the same page, then you can battle anyone else who has her, because you and your wife have her the most. Am I wrong?
True, but then you get into the idea of conflicts within the relationship, which I'm not going to go into detail for the sake of intimacy and privacy. I will say, like, it's not always that simple. And I will say that it isn't always because somebody doesn't like make the right decisions. It's not like she overindulges in it. It's not to say that the fast food itself is, and I think it is, but I think that the overconsumption of it is what became the major issue throughout the 90s that led to the documentary to call it out, Super Size Me, like kind of pointing out that kids recognized, Ronald McDonald more than they recognized Jesus. It's one of those things where you realize that it happened, but it's the boiling frog effect. It's not bad, and it is up to the person, but because of the overwhelming presence of it, there's a good chance they're going to be exposed, and then it has to be moderated. You have to defend against it. You have to inoculate the people around you to it, or your kids or anybody who's in your direct care. You have to. It's the idea that gacha games or like free-to-play games are becoming such commonplace that you have to inoculate somebody. It shouldn't be that way, in my opinion, because I don't think there's ever a situation yet, at least, where there's just been an overwhelming positive response from the amount of money someone's invested into a gacha game. At the end of the day, I don't think that you look back and you say, wow, I spent $300, $400, $500 and I think it was worth it. Like, I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on Uncharted for like a lot of that stuff, but not that much money. Bro, I was still a kid. I didn't have that much money to spend. But if I did, I probably would have spent an unhealthy amount of money.
So, like, if I were to add in on this, right, and you gave example of, like, the parents. So, it is the parents' responsibility to keep an eye on their child, and I wholeheartedly agree to that. However, due to how lifestyles in many different countries, whether they have to be the working parent or the busy parent, sometimes they need to hand that off to maybe a family member, or in the easiest sense, entertainment. And just as Anima said, the overall presence of gaming may not be in the sense like where restaurants and fast food restaurants are, but they have a presence. And when you hear the name Mario, you hear a fat plumber of a game that you may have used to played back when you were a kid, and it's child friendly. So why not hand Mario over to your kid and let it go? They'll just have fun being entertained. That happens all the time. In a lot of these cases, when kids are spending $10,000 or $5,000, it's usually due to them actually acting up in a way that you'd probably beat your kids for. So this kid took the literal credit card from his mom's wallet, from his mom's purse, right? And he's old enough to know it, because kids, you gotta give them more credit. They get smarter and smarter every generation. So they're going to figure things out. He input his mother's card and just left it locked in there, which was a game feature to save the card in the game. That is very sneaky. So whenever he goes and buys something, he could just press a button from then on and just keep going.
As simple as if I'm on my Amazon app and I just swipe right to freaking order. Like, I think that the ease of use of that is a problem, but you know that even if the kid is in a good meaning, or he could have been a good kid, like if someone gets obsessed with something and that obsession is blocked by a money wall, like, you have to imagine that some people really get into things and they really want more and more and more. Like, it happens all the time. It just, there wasn't such a medium, like there's never been so much of a medium to just pay and pay pay for that satisfaction.
I also
you just get things.
I also understand. I also understand where Panic's coming from, because it is the parent's responsibility to make sure that the kid is not doing these things. They should know to go into the game and delete the credit card information, and that they should see what the kid is actually playing, because you wouldn't want them to play like you have like a 6-year-old daughter who's playing like, I don't know, Lollipop Chainsaw or Silent Hill or Leisure Suit Larry. Like, you would never let your kids play those.
I mean, the thing is, though, a lot of people do. And it's not just the lackadaisical attitude of parents to do whatever they want. Sometimes, honestly, like, kids will be kids. I think that we all as kids did things we weren't supposed to do and did things we never told them about. Like, that's just the way it is. Kids are going to get into things.
That's so true, but, you know, when we were young, there was less technologically enhanced parental control. Now, you know what I mean by this. Every time you get on...
Who actually understands that stuff?
They make it easy.
Do they?
Easy,
well, yeah. With the exception of like-minded people, that gap closes with each passing generation. Like, the shit that we got away with because our parents didn't have the luxury of like internet, Wi-Fi, passwords, but like we do. See, our kids are not going to have that level of escape that we had.
True, but I also feel like there are still big gaps in that. If you're with your grandparents, they're not gonna know. Like, the thing is, they're so technologically challenged where these kids aren't, that the kids run in sprint circles around them and can take advantage of them. Elder abuse is a very real thing. You know that. I work in fraud. Like, it doesn't necessarily, I used to work in fraud. It doesn't necessarily matter, and that gap will close, but the gap is open now to some extent, depending on which generation you're talking about. There are some people who just don't know. I don't really know the first thing about parental controls. I'm sure it's very easy, but like, is it intuitive? Is it in my face? Not necessarily. The Switch is really good at it. Is my phone good at it? I don't know. I haven't set up parental controls on my phone. I just hope the kid doesn't get into it. I have a passcode, and that's about as much parental control as I have over my kid getting into any of my stuff, where my card is locked in.
Every time I open a new device, it says, do you want to set up parental controls? Every single time, the past 5 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. My parental control is the child doesn't get my phone. That's about as much as I have. Like, and it's a matter of how I'm raising the kid to not do that. Like, it's a principle thing. But not every single parent, like, there's blind spots everywhere, and you know this. There's blind spots. I know that it exists, but am I utilizing it to the fullest? It's like, are people utilizing their financial institutions' options for saving money to the fullest? Hey, you're about to hit the the bottom of your bank account in this account. Just a heads up. That's a setting you have to turn on. Everybody knows it exists. And then they go into the negative and they get hit with fees and they come to the bank and then they scream at us. But then we're like, hey, there are things you can do. Like, are everybody always aware of them? No. Does everybody read the manual of how their car works? No.
That falls on the individual, though. You can't blame other companies for not your wrongdoings, but the stuff where you screwed up at. Like, that's my point. I'm not saying that.
Where is that line? Where is that line, Penny?
I'm not saying that all these companies are right for what they're doing. I get it. Trust me, I agree with you. They are wrong for it. But in the terms of free to play, I'm not talking about what not Capcom, but EA. I'm not talking about what EA has been doing. You pay for your game, and we force you in a situation where you need to pay more money. That's a different story. But in terms of free to play, Like, these games are free to play, and based on your own judgment, you can add more money, pay more money in. The kids, yes, they have less of a choice because they don't know no better, but that's where the parents fall in line. If the individual parent is not doing what needs to be done or what can be done to stop it, then it's the individual's fault.
You're not wrong, but I think psychologically, people are groomed to not, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get across. Like, it's not so much that it's more to do with the idea of, say, what happened with net neutrality, and just let's not go there. Like, let's just say in this particular context that the parent should know. Maybe the parent has an issue as well. What if they have an issue with addiction or gambling? Like, I had to tell my dad, because not many people have the luxury of a parent who's a major gamer. But like, he tried to get me into World of Warcraft. Well, you know, I tell you guys about MMOs all the time, and then my whole thing was, hey, I'm living with you, right? Like, I'm the kid, you're the parent, and I'm an adult. I don't want to be enabled to spend all my time playing this this MMO when I could be actually doing things with my life to get out of the house. Like, you're not gonna see that situation happen so often. The kid might just have a parent who thinks, acts, and, you know, makes decisions like a kid and doesn't make the best decisions. And hence the kid follows suit. It's rare you're gonna have a kid that's like, nah, actually, I'm not gonna, you know, allow me to procrastinate on whatever I actually need to be doing right now by playing this game with you. Like,
maybe I think
there's that. And then there's the fact that there's so many things that have happened slowly over time that have groomed people, like the debit card.
Okay.
It's easier to spend from your debit card versus if you just have $30 in your pocket.
Oh, okay.
More money than you realize you have. Those things happening make it so that over time, that line gets real blurry because you don't know that there is a hard line, and you don't make a hard stop to make these things not happen. That's my argument. It's because we as a society are being groomed slowly into making these decisions normal. Just like how we slowly made it normal to take music from the right holders. Like, it's a problem that has happened over time that makes it so that it's completely debatable. But it isn't so hard of a black and white issue anymore. Parents aren't necessarily going to say, "Hey, maybe you should spend."
Let me finish this. Let me finish this by just TLDRing it just a little bit. Society does not have a lot of education in terms of, like, you know, locking a phone, locking a computer, locking a game in terms of parental control, even though the option is there, and it's never really constantly reminded to a lot of people. Even though when you turn on your phone, you may have parental control stuff, right? That's fine. However, on a majority view, when it comes to stuff, especially in terms of games and the gacha system and paying on free-to-play stuff, right? It is the parents' fault if their kid gets in there and they start spending a whole lot of money, because they're the ones who allowed it to happen. However, you got parents who are just not educated or just do not know. They're not really involved.
Especially
and
grandparents.
That the society, as Anima has already explained, has kind of made that. And basically, parents of, like, who are not us, who are not millennials, who don't have a lot of gaming knowledge or knowledge in this terms, especially elders, don't know. They just won't know. And it's challenging for them to know. And it may be a challenge for them to especially keep an eye on their kids all the time if they're busy. And games is just so much easier just to hand over your kids over to. So, you're right. Where it comes to parents, you're right, it is their fault. At the same time, it's also society's fault that we're at this point where, why don't parents know this kind of shit in the first place? That's all I gotta say.
It just means there has to be a movement of awareness. I think that the awareness of, hey, tobacco actually kills people shouldn't have even needed to be a movement, but it was the fact that it was groomed that tobacco was harmless. It's just kind of like Bluetooth. Pretty sure there's a lot of radiation exposure to that we're going to figure out in our older age that we're going to have to advocate against. Like, hey, Bluetooth is bad for you. It does blah, blah, blah. We're going to need some change so that people aren't getting brain cancer. Like, I think that there's still a lot of unexplored areas. And because it's not important, it is not going to be universally rallied against. It takes some form of awareness, and you need to make sure that people understand where the line really is. Should game companies allow you to just be able to spend willy-nilly? Well, if they're trying to make a buck, I get it, and that's fine. However, they're not going to say no to you spending $5,000 on their game. That's a win on their part. So if they want to make that as easy and as accessible and as great as possible, fine. And the moderation falls in your hands. However, I feel like Nintendo, with all their vaunted, we're all about family everything, creating a Mario Kart game that isn't just a full game on the phone for people to play and just kind of leaving it up to you to spend how much money on, is an example of something that shouldn't happen. That's my TLDR. Like, I feel like there's more room for error there because it's hitting a demographic that probably has never experienced a free-to-play culture in the slightest bit. And it's going to get a lot of people into what I'm effectively going to call the, I want to say the gotcha syndrome. Like, any gambling addiction, like if it was casinos back in the day, now it's going to be this stuff. This is going to be the new gambling. It's not so much that you're gambling to get what you absolutely want, but you are going to spend a lot more money than if you could just buy a DLC. It's kind of randomized, right? Or can you spend on the Mario Kart game to get exactly what you want? Either way, I'm used to just playing a game and unlocking characters through gameplay, not even in-game currency, or the in-game currency was reasonable to get. You know what I mean? The more we move away from that, the more we make people susceptible and then okay with the idea that they're going to have to spend a lot more money than they necessarily needed to get what they want. And that's what I don't like. I don't want games to advocate that just because they can make a lot of money out of it. I don't want game companies to make that a thing just because there's an opportunity there. Because I feel like it's abusing the idea that somebody really wants a thing, and because they really want it, they're willing to spend so much more money to get it through your system you just created out of nowhere. It didn't exist before. It doesn't have to exist now. That's my personal perspective.
Like if I walk up to a homeless person and I know for 100% fact that they're a crackhead, and I give them little teeny tiny pieces of crack every now and then, is it my fault for giving it to them or their fault for taking it?
No, more so if you give them money.
No. I want Panic to answer.
I get the point. I heard you.
It's like, you're not wrong in what you're saying. Like, we as consumers do bear I would argue, the majority of the responsibility. It's just becoming aware of it. But I just don't want this to be normal. I feel like it's wrong that it's being normalized. I do agree with that. It should not be normalized. But at the same time, we should spread the awareness. Consumers should spread the awareness of, you probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So, what you mean by normalized? Do you not want free-to-play games to become normalized, or do you not want?
No, I want more free-to-play games to function like Opera Omnia and Genshin Impact. Like, they are good examples of the true balance of, like, okay, this game is free to play and I can spend money, but I don't feel pressed to spend money to enjoy this game. That needs to be the common medium, that. Because most of the time, games like EA and like sometimes Capcom and definitely Bethesda, it's okay. And I get that the main difference is because those games are not free. Like, once you pay a premium price for that game, like, I get that the rules kind of change. Like, at that point, it should be no gotcha. If I'm buying your game, it should be zero gotcha and zero, completely none.
Yeah.
But like for free-to-play games like Mario Kart, now that we don't want more Mario Kart Mobile. That needs to stop. That needs to end.
So
I'm happy with my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's plenty of content there for me to enjoy.
And just to try to finish this up here, because we're gonna have to end this podcast very soon.
3, 2, 1.
Nobody's really disagreeing with you, Panic. It's just we also just want to convey that when it comes right down to it, like we all, we can blame ourselves, we can blame the parents, but the company also bears responsibility for that, just keeping the culture going. Like, they're not doing anything in efforts to actually try to change that. Because you know why? Because money. Money is pretty much what's going to make it roll. And when it comes down to like Opera Omnia and Genshin Impact, they're still going to do the same thing for money, but they're making pretty good content for it. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but when a game's lifetime is like, for a gacha game, it needs to earn a certain amount of money so that it can stay. Not a lot of people were talking about Brave Exvius. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Like, that game is basically the same thing as Opera Omnia on a much smaller scale. But the only place where it's actually popular is probably, like, you know, some parts of the world and majorly in Japan. So there's been talks about, like, what are they going to do with that. Mobius Final Fantasy, gone, because it didn't work. All the Bravest died immediately because people already saw through it. And a bunch of other games. The Mario Kart thing, they're coming out with characters, right? But some of these characters just make no sense. Like Stat Goomba, Dr. Stat Goomba, Dr. Mario, Dr. Luigi.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They've been talking about like there's a Dr. Mario game out there, right? There's a Dr. Mario game, and it almost works the same way as the Mario Kart Mobile, but what they do is that I think it's more or less that they bring the characters out and they just like, here you go guys, do you want it? Then pay us $1. And that's how they've been rolling. But again, that's Japan, and over there what they're doing, I have not a lot of knowledge of that. I'm only getting in what's translated over here, so I'm not an expert, but from what I'm hearing, their business venture over there is a whole different thing. And what they think that they're doing in terms of business may be the right way, I guess, in terms of business, and the people of Japan may not even care, but Japan's culture already is more lenient. They're very apologetic, and they don't want to seem to stand out whenever things like that happen. So, and that's what's going on over there. However, on the West, we're more outgoing. We will speak our mind, and if we don't like something, we will talk about not liking something. And for whatever reason, Sony's game department wants to come over here. Okay, whatever. But just know that we will say what we want to say when we don't like something. And they are fully aware of that. Some businesses over there are making the move over to America or Europe for whatever reason. That's just a little tidbit for you guys. I have no idea why they're doing it, but they're just doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we could like trim that down to like 2 hours all the time, I would love it. I'm born for this. I am born for the polarized opinion.
Hell yeah. I mean, honestly, this is an important thing to talk about, though. I feel like Panic is both in his right to say exactly what he said. He is.
Oh no, like you didn't say nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong.
But you know, he's just a firm believer in you fucked up.
The challenge is greater than it seems. You know.
Yeah. Right. And that. Yeah. And that.
I don't play Minecraft, but my daughter loves Minecraft. You know, like. Did it happen to be a bad thing? No. But if she come out of nowhere and say she likes something that I'm not such a huge fan of, like, you have to have a talk with her, and then that depends on your relationship. There's so much dynamic behind it. I don't know what's gonna happen. The thing is, like, if it's becoming a normal thing, and a lot of people are just like, you know, oh, this isn't a big deal. Like, that's exactly how kids start vaping, right? Like the new cigarette. It's just one of those things where, because it seems like it's harmless, it becomes normal until you realize it actually isn't harmless. And the companies probably know it's not harmless, or if they have been presented with the idea that it isn't harmless, they're like, you can't do that. You have to understand the implications. You have to think of it long term. If you're not willing to do that, you are an advocate for the potential issue. And that's where I draw my line, and I'm just like, I don't think companies should be going that far, but since they are going that far, I now have to take further responsibility for it, which I'm okay with doing because I have to, not because I want to. You know what I mean? You just get into the old man rant, like, back in my day, we used to get games, whole entire 50 game collections for $20.
Listen, but the moral of the story is,
I don't know.
the moral of the story is that, you know, the world's changing, and some things need to catch up, but we're all still learning, right?
We're all gonna figure it out. I think that we've touched on a lot of different topics where there's gonna be a lot of important topics coming up, and we're gonna have to be on top of what's happening so that we can be ready for it.
But
Effectively.
you know what?
Wait, before we end, I'm sorry, and this has nothing to do with either of your guys' conversation. I just have a legit question that I need to ask the audience and y'all. So, remember, I wouldn't be sure if I access Kirby Star Allies.
Yeah, what about it?
I was able to get it.
Yay.
I have it because I already own the game. Now here's my question. So, actually, it's a two-part question. First of all, there's no way to look at your recent purchases on the console. And
Yes, there is. So if you
console,
yeah,
you have to line to look at it.
all software.
Huh?
All software.
Recent purchases that you haven't made on the console.
Redownload software. If it's not on this console, then
Right.
I don't know if you can
It's-
re-download it.
No, you can re-download it. You
Can't
Then
look.
it-
Oh,
Huh?
you had it on the console.
You can
I'm
re-download
doing
it.
that right now. Look at my stream.
No. You're missing what I'm saying. I
Okay.
had a.
Well, I'm missing what you're saying because you're breaking up. You've been cutting in and out. So
It's like,
I'm
guys,
not-
there's a bug.
He's like, no, you're missing what I'm saying. There's a... I was just like, you got me there. You got me. What did you say? You have to repeat yourself.
Switch.
The Switch.
I had a Switch that before this one. You guys remember that, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I lost that Switch, I lost the ability to look at recently downloaded software because the new Switch does not have recently downloaded software on it.
I don't
So-
understand.
Way
No.
to
That's stuck to the hardware and not to your firmware of your account.
yes and no. On the Switch, on a different Switch, you cannot look at your account's past bought items.
Oh.
Even if it was, I'm talking about if it was on a different Switch, because I was looking for the option in the Nintendo store, and there is no option. I had to literally go online to look at my past purchases list. And the second part of the question is, why does that list only go back as far as 2 years?
Whoa.
Maybe
Well,
that's Nintendo.
We're gonna have to solve that. We're gonna have to solve that outside the stream here.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're gonna talk about right after this.
So, with that
But-
being said, if you guys want to give your outros on where people can find you,
Yeah. So, the Aeon Anima on Twitch, Aeon Anima on YouTube. I haven't been making a lot of YouTube videos. Don't know when I'm gonna start back up. But you can always catch me on Twitch. I've officially settled on a Friday, Sunday, Tuesday schedule. Sundays being right after this podcast and during this podcast, and Fridays being and Tuesdays being nights. Typically around 7 or 8. And then in the morning, 10:30 when we start the podcast, and then right after, which is whenever it ends, which is around like 12:30 to 1 now. We just kind of did away with the 15-minute thing. That's where you can find me. I'm also all over the place in other places, but don't expect to actually catch me there. I also have a Discord. If you come to the Twitch, you can put in !Discord to find the online Play for Everyone Network Discord, where we talk about stuff, and you get to communicate with me through there. That's me.
Basically, everything Anima just said, but switch out my name for his. Skeptic.
And YouTube,
No,
I'm on
but
YouTube. He has a series called Horror
All
on,
right.
and he's under skeptic. And you spell it with a K on both the C and the K, so it's just, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, that's skeptic with 2 Ks. If I see skeptic with the C, I'll get banned. Immediate ban. None of that.
He's kidding. He's kidding.
Not really.
He doesn't have anything to ban.
Well, not yet anyway. But
Your Discord, your Twitch.
oh my god. But no, y'all can catch me here on the podcast again. Most consistent thing ever since life.
Since breathing.
Oh my god.
Since breathing, and you know, our streams range from hey, look at the KFC console to we need to impeach the president of Nintendo for doing some crazy shit, and anything in between.
Yeah, sounds about right.
You know, one of us will bring something like
He's skeptic.
Hey, listen, I'm here.
Alright, Panic. Tell thoughts.
I'm Panic. You can catch me nowhere, at least not yet.
Catch him on the podcast.
Catch him exclusively at the A14 podcast. He's the most strong. He's usually the most strong opinionated next to skeptic himself, and then brings it out. So we all get that. I don't bring that to the table, but I definitely feel it, and then I get into it.
I'm gonna have to take that title from Panic. It is officially easier to change Panic's mind than it is mine. But I love to hear the opinions. I'm here for it. I need to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. I only got so into it because as a parent, I'm definitely concerned. Definitely concerned. I know that my kid's not getting any hand on my credit card information because me and my wife both work at the bank. We understand how to prevent things, but not every single person will. So she good luck to her.
and to you too.
In
like 2 or 3 more years, it's gonna be swiper. I'm gonna be like, no swiper, no swiping,
no swiping.
With that being said, I am Sync Weaver. I am now going as Flop on my Switch because I'm bringing back old times. But you can catch me here on Twitch. Sync Weaver. You can catch me on YouTube. Sync Weaver. You can catch me. You can catch me out back. Sync Weaver. You can catch me outside. It's Sync Weaver. You can catch me in the pool as Sync Weaver.
This is going down.
Catch him on the Animal Crossing world as Sync Weaver. Let me go hit him up real quick.
Definitely going down there.
I'm pretty sure he's just on here.
I've recently started streaming myself playing every single Final Fantasy game, starting from the first one, playing all definitive editions, and I'm going to see if I can get all of them played by the end of this year.
Hold on, you're going to play every Final Fantasy ever?
Yep.
See,
not in general or just main titles.
So I'm gonna be playing the main titles, and if anybody, if anybody wants, if we get to a point like, hey, do you want to play Final Fantasy Explorers? And I'm like, let's see if we can do that. And if I can't do that, then I won't do it. But if it's games like Final Fantasy X, and they're like, hey, play 10 too, and I'm like, okay. 11's gonna be a very difficult thing. That might actually just end up being a video.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone can even play 11 if they wanted to anymore.
No, they can. They can still play. The servers are still up. However, the game is already ended. Like, the last piece of expansion and content has the ending of the game in it. So all you're really doing when you play that game is just hanging out. Which is probably better than what's going on with World of Warcraft. Oh boy!
Don't you do it.
Anyway, thank you guys for sitting down with us in this more than enough hour, more than we should have podcast, because I shouldn't have brought up that subject, but hey, them's the works.
Spicy.
This was a good podcast.
Spicy.
It was very
I love it.
I shouldn't have said anything.
I didn't bring a strong enough topic to the table. That's how I feel.
Anyway, thank you for sitting down with us in our humble abode. Please visit us again in our apartment at 814. You're always welcome. And with that said, adieu, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Adios. Nos vemos. No, stop. The guy will come and sue.